All right, how's everybody doing today? Hotep, hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, writer, and historian. So it is Thursday, September 1st, 2022. And we're going to be joined in a few minutes by my friend, Dr. David Anderson, who's the host of the Blackanomics show, and he's the founder of the Empowerment Radio Network. And he brought me on to the Empowerment Radio Network back in 2014 as a national radio show host. And we're going to have a discussion today dealing with building and protecting Black wealth, building and protecting Black wealth. Okay, so share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. And there are a couple of recent articles that we're all going to discuss that deal also with wealth as well. We know the student loan forgiveness program that Joe Biden rolled out that is going to take 500,000 African-American families from a negative net worth to a positive net. But also we have stories like this one right here this is from CNBC.com. Mortgage denial rate for Black borrowers is twice that of overall population, report finds. This is from August 27, 2022. You know, we've talked about things like the discrimination when it comes to getting the proper valuation of homes, proper appraisal of homes, things like this. We deal with discrimination when it comes to getting mortgages as well. We've talked about these topics here on the show also. So I'm waiting for him to join us here. And then this story here we posted on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. This story came out August 31st, Wednesday, August 31st, 2022. And this is an article from NBC News, and a lot of people have been talking about this one as well. This deals with Bank of America, okay? Bank of America, and he's joining us here, so we're gonna bring him on. Bank of America announces zero down payment, zero closing cost mortgages for first-time home buyers in the Black and Hispanic communities nationwide. Let's bring Dave Anderson on. All right, Dave. How you doing? Can you hear me?
What's up, Mike?
Hey, how you doing, Dave? You all right? Can you hear
Good,
me?
Man.
All
yeah,
right,
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. All right, everybody, we want to welcome to the African History Network show, Dr. David Anderson, who is the host of the Blackanomics show and also founder of the Empowerment Radio Network as well. All right, how you doing today, Dave?
What's going on, Mike? What's how you been?
Oh, hectic, man. It's trying to make things happen, bro. Trying to be like you,
Nah,
man.
we not
Trying to stay
trying,
afloat.
man. We not trying.
Trying to stay,
We don't
trying to
try.
stay afloat.
The black
Hey,
man is God.
I'm making it
brother.
happen,
We
man.
Try.
Yeah, I'm making it happen. You know, man. It just is like Heinz ketchup, man. You know, it's just Heinz ketchup. So, okay, can everybody hear us okay as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that lines 1 and lines 2 are operating well. Okay, and those watching, let us know if you can hear us all right. Okay, so Dave, I know you wanted to talk about Black wealth, and I titled this Building and Protecting Black Wealth, Building and Protecting Black Wealth. This ties into some recent stories in the news, one from CNBC.com dealing with mortgage denial rate for Black borrowers is twice that of overall population. Then we see the story from dealing with Bank of America that came out yesterday. Bank of America announces zero down payment, zero closing cost mortgages for first-time home buyers in Black and Hispanic communities nationwide. We know that the African-American white wealth gap, the median net worth of a white household is 10 times that of African-American household. So you have a background in building wealth and real estate, things like this. So Tell people, give people a synopsis of who you are and what you do.
Dr. David Anderson. You can check us out on the YouTube,
Okay.
drdavidandersonsenior.com. And I'm on the gram at the Entrepro Negro on the gram.
Okay.
And I'm
The
at Blackanomics on
Pro
Entree
Negro.
Pro
Okay.
Pro Negro.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm at Blackanomics on the Fed book. But I mean, basically, our narrative is just Black wealth. We do things differently over here. We don't necessarily subscribe to the status quo of what it is that they've been pushing to us. They're pushing that we got to have mortgages.
Right.
And
right.
I mean,
I know you talked about that before.
You're a scholar. Yeah, you're a scholar. So you know that the etymology in the word mortgage, that mort is taken from the Latin word mortifit, which means death. And the second word to that is engaged. So it's a death engagement.
Right.
So we just can't subscribe to these things. I mean, we have to buy property without using mortgages. That's what we have to
Right. And I know you have a background in that. Also, I forgot to say, Dave Anderson and I were both in the documentary Black Friday. That's why I wore my Black Friday shirt. We're both in the documentary Black Friday.
Not only were we both in the documentary, but I helped to finance that film. I helped to
he helped to finance it as well.
Sizable amount of money into that film and was one of the executive producers.
Right, that film he was the one that got me into the film Black Friday from the record.
That film would not have been produced. It would not have made it to the screens that it made it to had we not gotten involved.
Right, so, right. And there's 3 films in the series, Black Friday series. But go ahead. But in the Black Friday, you talk about tax lien certificates. And buying houses through tax lien certificates was one of the strategies that you use for wealth building. But go ahead.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, we'll get to the tax liens and stuff. But what I'm saying is that what we're learning is that we're talking about wealth for Black people, protecting it, not just building it, but building it and protecting it.
Exactly.
And so what we have to understand is a concept that I want to share with those who are watching.
Okay.
A loan, most people in America have loans. They don't live in houses that, they don't have their primary residences are not zeroed out. Their secondary residences, if they have them, are not zeroed out. Their businesses are not zeroed out. Their farms and their lake houses are not zeroed out. They probably 9 times out of 10 have a mortgage, unless they're super uber entrepreneurs or have a lot of wealth. And so what we're learning in our research is that houses that were originated between the year 2000 and we'll say 2012. Well, really the debacle happened in 2010. It was just over with. So between 2000 and 2010, this is very important. Loans were originated. And as we know, they were sold, right? They were what we call securitized. Now, the securitization of a mortgage basically means that, so the loan product, let me break this down for those who might not understand. A loan is like, let's say I want to borrow some money from you, Mike, and I come to you and you lend me whatever, 200 grand, all right? And when I sign the promissory note, that means that I agree to pay you back your 200 grand to buy this house. And I'm going to pay you some interest, right? Because you're lending me the money. So I'm going to pay you whatever, 5-10%. That's kind of high. But whatever it is, like 5% interest monthly over the course of 15, 20, 30, whatever we agree on. Okay. That's a bona fide mortgage. Okay. That is a bona fide agreement between me and you. What we're finding is that these houses that were originated between 2000 and 2010 were not just between me and you. They weren't between A and B. They were originated originally between A and B. But then they were aggregated into loan pools of 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 in a loan pool.
Right.
It was further once the banks got the 500 loans aggregated. They further got insurance from Lords of London and this was a wrap around. So
Wow.
let's just say 500 loans in one pool were aggregated.
Right. Right.
They got insurance, they got appraisals, and they got insurance around this whole loan pool. So
Right.
now when I have insurance for something that might be, let's say the average house was $300,000 or 250 to 300,000. Now I go get insurance for that. Now I can value it 3 times what it's worth because it's insured.
Mm-hmm.
Then they went and sold it to pensions around the world. Okay.
Wow.
So what I'm saying is those are 3 different steps that happen. And we haven't even talked about assignments. We haven't even talked about the actual servicers. What I'm getting at is that this fraud that has happened specifically to Black people, it's not a mortgage. Once your loan has been sold, it's no longer a mortgage because it was placed into a loan pool and it was
Right.
insurance wrapped around it. So it's a different product. It's a securitized product. Fast shouts out to Venus and Serena. They getting ready to win at the U.S. Open. So I say all this to say, there's people that are going into foreclosure who are being foreclosed on currently as we speak. And those institutions that claim that they own that paper do not.
Right. Right. Because
And so,
they were not the original people that you signed the mortgage with, that
correct,
you got the loan for.
correct,
Right. Right. It was
correct. Because it was
resold
sold, they were sold to them not once, not twice, but 3
twice.
times. It was
Right.
assigned. And
Right.
what was assigned was not a mortgage. What was assigned is a pool of products that are in a loan pool. That's not a
Right.
mortgage. That's something
Right.
else. And so when we get together and we decide that this we've been fraudulated against on some of the highest levels, that's when we can start talking about economic empowerment and economic advancement. We can't
Mm-hmm.
talk about that right now because we're all struggling trying to figure out how to pay rent or how to pay mortgages notes
Right.
that are not even
Right.
real.
Right.
So we have to start doing this due diligence and start understanding that there's two types of information for the informed and information for the uninformed.
Right.
And it's an atrocity, man. We've been railroaded on a whole nother level. And
Exactly.
my nettlesome task is to get us to start fighting on that level. It's one thing to fight, it's to march and do all these types of things, but it's another thing to really start doing our due diligence and our research and really understand how we can, what we can do to put ourselves in positions to build wealth. We're not in a position to even think about wealth building because we have so much debt. We have so many, student loans.
Mm-hmm.
We're not in a position to fight right now. So we have to get ourselves in a position to fight.
So we have to get our mindset together to actually build wealth and then understand how to build wealth, which is different than, because like in America, you basically were taught maybe 3 main ways to build wealth. And one of them is home ownership, and it's usually through a mortgage. That's how we've been taught, home ownership through a mortgage. So it's usually maybe 3 or 4 ways: home ownership, the stock market, real estate, entrepreneurship. They're probably about the 4 main ways. Not talking about entertainment. Okay. For African Americans, being an athlete may be number 1. Okay, that's how we talk. But generally speaking, in America, probably 4 main ways that we're taught how to build wealth: home ownership, usually through a mortgage, the stock market, owning real estate, and then entrepreneurship. Okay, and when we deal with the owning real estate, okay, and buying houses, even if it's the house that you live in, but if we're looking at that, what method should we look at in obtaining that property as opposed
We
to
should
getting a
buy that
15, 30
property
year
with.
mortgage,
We
as
should
opposed to
not
getting a
use
15, 30 year
mortgages.
mortgage.
We
Right.
should not use mortgages. Period. We should
Mhm.
not. We should stay away from these products. Like what I'm telling you right now
Right.
is that if everybody were to go home and check their amortization schedule, the amortization schedule, just to break this down, is the schedule on when your payments are due. All right. So let's just say the
Okay.
mortgage is 40 years, right?
Right.
You're paying interest for 28 years on a 40-year mortgage. That's what the schedule says. You're paying 90% of your payment is going towards interest, which means it's not until year
Wow.
29 that you're paying on principal that schedule flips the 80-20 or 90-10, whatever it is. It's 90-10 for 28 years or 80-20 for 28 years, meaning 80% going or 90% to 80% going towards interest. It's not until year 28 that model changes. So
Right.
what that means is that if you have a 40-year mortgage, you're paying for your house 7 times over. That's money that could have been utilized to put kids through school, could have been utilized for preventative health measures. It could have been utilized for recreation, for trips, for vacations. Could have been increasing a better quality of life, being able to have better food, better access to clean air filters, all kind of other stuff that's just not
Right.
available to us because we're having to pay on interest. And so what I'm saying is we can no longer accept what we're being told as part of what we need to do for the American dream because it's not
Right.
happening for us. You
Right.
know, you know the numbers. We did a film together, which when it opened suggested the opening line was that $1.3 trillion is
Trillion.
our annual spending power. But they
Hmm.
saying that our net worth, Claude Anderson saying our net worth is negative $9,000. Come on. The CalPERS says that, and CalPERS measures the wealth of nations, right? So CalPERS says that the United States has $392 billion in reserves, liquidity in terms of retirement. But our Norwegian brothers and sisters have 3 trillion. Japan Post, and that's from the Sovereign Wealth Fund in Norway. All right. Norway Sovereign Wealth Fund has over $3 trillion in liquidity. The Japan Post in Japan, which is the retirement funding source for Japan, the Nippon Post says that they have over $7 trillion. So this is crazy, man. Like, how do these countries have this in liquidity for retirement? And the United States only has 392. If 392 is what the United States has in reserve, then what do black people have? When our
Right.
spending power is equal to what's in reserve currency in Norway, almost a third of that. So what I'm saying is we have to start having real conversations about how we can maneuver. And then people say, then the question is, well, how do we buy property without using mortgages? Well, you know, they got something called a bankruptcy court. And what's
Right.
funny about the bankruptcy court is, and this ain't even tax liens, this is just bankruptcy court. The
Okay.
trustee, the bankruptcy trustee is charged with liquidating assets. Okay. Mike Roberts, who we both know and
Right.
have as mentors and advisors, Mike Roberts in a bankruptcy, you can go to pacer.gov, pacer.gov, and type in Michael V. Roberts, and you will see, this is on a public record, Mr. Roberts in liquidating his assets or restructuring the assets for his bankruptcy that they filed in 99 or 2000. He made enough money on the way down on the bankruptcy to buy the Roberts Riverwalk Hotel. It was the old Omni where you are
Right.
in
In Detroit.
Detroit. Okay.
Hmm.
So, and that was handled by a bankruptcy trustee.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is people are being steered that we got to have an agent. We got to go out here and find an agent to go find us a house. Ain't nobody going to the Wayne County Tax Commissioner. Wayne County Tax Commissioner selling houses for $1,000. Ain't nobody going to the Land Bank Authority. Land Bank Authority in Wayne County is selling houses for $1. Or on 8 Mile, 9 Mile. They got stuff on Belle Isle. And all you got to do is be able to tell Land Bank Authority that you can fix the house up in 6 months. And if you're not able to fix the house up in 6 months, if it's a multifamily that has to deal with being able to give people an affordable housing solution, they'll give you up to 36 months.
Right. Okay.
But we're not talking about this, right? We're
Right.
not talking about this on the radio because we worrying about, you know, Jay-Z and Beyonce and what's going on with Chris Rock and all this stuff. And you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And Willow and Jaden, you know, this is real opportunity here. So between the Land
Exactly.
Bank Authority and between tax sale, Wayne County tax sale, between and I'm just kind of talking about Detroit because that's where you are. But there's a
Right.
lot of opportunities out here, man, and we're missing
But
them
it's like that
because
in many cities. It's like that in many
oh,
cities
it's all
because of
over, man. I can get down all over the country.
right.
This is what we
Right.
do. I can tell you what's going on in New York. I can tell you what's going on in Atlanta. I can tell you what's going on in Florida. I mean, the
Hmm.
Memphis, Shelby County right now, Land Bank Authority has 37,000 properties online right now for $1.
Where's that?
Shelby
In
County
Memphis?
is Memphis. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
Memphis,
Shelby County,
Tennessee.
Memphis. Okay, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a Shelby County in Alabama also. So I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, Alabama's off the hook. Talking about Alabama, Huntsville is crazy. Huntsville's the #1 market in Alabama right now. You know, so
Okay.
it's going down in a lot of these different cities where Black people reside. But we have to stop allowing ourselves to be steered with information that is not advantaging us economically. You know what?
Right.
There's a story of the cattle rancher, right? The
Hmm.
black cowboys, right?
Right.
The process of herding cattle to get 100 head of herd into a stall every night is a feat. It's almost a phenomenon
Hmm.
because the cattle rancher, let's say there's 90 100 cows and then 10 bulls, right? And these are black Angus cows. Black Angus cows are valued at about $5,500 a cow right now. That's virtually about $500,000 because the gestation period for these cows is 9 months. So the rancher has 100 cows, 10 bulls to impregnate these cows. And then we'll just assume that in 12 months, there'll be another 100 cows that he can take to um, the ag show or the agricultural sale, the ag auction, excuse me, and make another $500,000 a year, right? All he
Right.
has to do is keep those cows healthy and away from danger without getting killed by wolves and all this other stuff that's going on. So it's a risk that this rancher's taking, but he's willing to take it. Okay. The cowboy or the dogs that are herding the sheepdogs, the dogs that are charged with herding the sheep, all they do is bark. They go in front of the herd and they just
Hmm.
bark a certain way to keep that herd. This is 100 cattle to
Right.
go into this little
Keep
door
them in
at night.
line. Yep. Right.
And that is called steering. That is a practice that
Hmm.
cowboys master,
Hmm.
using the sheepdogs to herd the cattle
Right.
and getting them quickly, orderly, and in a timely fashion to go into this door at night when they rest or whatever to keep them safe from whatever's in the elements is the job of the cowboys, so they don't know none of the herd gets hurt or get lost. They got to be accounted for. And
Right.
that process is called steering. That same exact process is what they do on Wall Street when they tell you put your money in a 401k or
Hmm.
put your money in the stock market and all this type of stuff. That's steering. That's a practice. It's a
Right.
financial practice. It's the same exact practice. How do we get the masses to do what we tell them to do exact? And this is affecting Black people. See, white folks get different information than we do. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? We don't have Bloomberg terminals that are just connected to the internet on an MPLS circuit. The Bloomberg terminal is in the office. It gives us all the information that we need about whatever the hell we getting ready to do. So we don't have access to that as Black folks, as individuals. We don't even know what the hell Bloomberg terminal is.
Hmm.
So the information coming across the Bloomberg terminal is all the information that we need to be able to make decisions on arbitrage and all this type of stuff. And we're
Right.
missing the boat, man. We're missing the boat. So my message tonight is we gotta stop allowing ourselves to be steered like these cattle. We're not Black Angus cattle. You know what I'm saying? We got way more to offer than, you know, a piece of meat going to the
Right.
meat house. You know, we
Okay.
got
So
intellectual capital. We got all this other stuff. I'm sorry.
right. Right. No, that's fine. So when we look at, for instance, I know the story came out yesterday. I'm gonna pull it up here, dealing with Bank of America.
Right.
Um, and okay, this is NBC News. Bank of America announced zero down payment, zero closing cost mortgages for first-time home buyers in Black and Hispanic communities nationwide. Residents in selected Charlotte, Dallas, Detroit, Los Angeles, and Miami neighborhoods will be offered the program first. Okay, so we got zero down, we got zero down payment, zero closing cost mortgages. Make money off of interest in these
Right.
in this program here. Okay, so um this is well, also is I think it's important to know. I think if I remember correctly, Bank of America was one of those banks that had to uh, pay
Give
a
like some kind
settlement
of reparations
to the
and
Department of
restitution.
Justice. Yeah, it
Hmm.
was to the Department of Justice a few years
Along Wells
ago.
Fargo
Yeah, along with Wells Fargo
and
because of
Chase. It was the
because of
top
like
four
predatory, yeah, because of
lending.
like predatory lending. Yeah, predatory lending.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is a program, even though it may sound good on the surface. This is a program here. Hey, have you had a chance to look at this at all? Have you had a chance to read this article at all, Dave?
I saw you posted on the African History Network.
Right.
I read a little bit of it. My lawyer Robert Dukes sent it to me in the office as well. But
Okay.
again, this is another marketing ploy,
Right.
right?
So this is steering.
This
This
is
is an example
this
of
is
steering.
steering. This is example, a true example of steering,
Right.
because they got certain things in that agreement, right, with the
Hmm.
DOJ. It wasn't just about pay the money.
Department of
It
Justice.
was
Right.
yeah, it wasn't just about paying the money. It was about
Right.
them appearing to do some things in the community to help advantage the community. All right.
Right.
Bank of
Right.
America is not your friend, black folks. It's not.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? In every religious text that they have, it says you're supposed to be the borrower and not the lender. It says that in the Bible. It's in the Quran. They got something called Islamic financing. In the Quran and the Islamic faith, you're not supposed to even charge your brother interest. The same thing in Christianity. You're not supposed to charge your brother interest. You know what I'm saying? That's you're supposed to charge the infidel, but you're not supposed to charge your brother. Bank of America
Right.
don't have no problems charging your black behind a whole lot of interest. Even if they say interest deferred, no payment down. I guarantee when we start doing a forensic mortgage audit and start really breaking that down, there's going to be interest, and that interest is going to be due. So Bank of America is not your brother. You know what I'm saying? But they don't have no problems charging your black behind interest. This is what they do. That's their
Right.
business model. So we have to
Right.
start getting into the science of how can we advantage ourselves? You know, how can we put ourselves? And I'm giving out mad information on the African History Network right now in terms of how you can go. Because I charge like $15,500 for these classes, and I'm just spitting it off tonight because we in
Wow.
that kind of situation, man. You know what I'm saying? We in
Right.
that situation where people need to figure out how to do things differently. If we keep subscribing to see, Bank of America has cash right now because they charging
Hmm.
us fees. They charge us the bank to our deposit accounts. They charging us, thousands of dollars a month. If you get a piece of bubble gum and you go over 1 cent, it's $36 for NSF. That's how Bank of America is rolling. So they taking that money and that NSF fee and they lending that money. Not to mention, if Bank of America says that they have, $10 million in the institution, which they have way more than, they're able to lend 10 times that. That's just
Right.
how the numbers are. So, it's a game, man. It's a game. They're making money on top of their money. And we just have to stop allowing ourselves to be steered. We have to do things differently. We have to go into the bankruptcy court. We got to have relationships with these bankruptcy trustees. We got to figure out, we got to start monitoring this stuff in the courts, looking at who's filing bankruptcy and what their assets are. All of this stuff is free.
Okay.
Pacer.gov has everybody who files a bankruptcy, all their assets is on the internet. It's public record. Somebody got a house, they filed a BK. Guess what?
Give us that website again.
Pacer.gov.
Oh, pacer.gov. Yeah.
It
Okay.
goes down. It goes down. Most of us go to Pacer because it's a criminal situation and we got to go. Well, let me not say that. Not most of us, but Some of us know Pacer because, if somebody got a case, they got to go on the Pacer and check their case to kind of find their loved ones and see where they doing their time at. But at the same time, on the inverse, there's BKs and there's assets trapped up in those BKs because people are trying to protect themselves from creditors. Okay.
Right.
But you got to still liquidate those assets. That's what the bankruptcy trustee's job is, to liquidate assets. And so you can buy those houses based off of what the offer is. The bankruptcy trustee can say, hey, look, we're going to take this house for $1. If you married and your relationship with your wife is tumultuous and y'all got a lot of real estate tied up in there, ain't nobody worrying about, oh, I want to get something out the deal. They trying to just get out of the relationship. So because the asset might have a value, because this person don't want to be tied to that person in any way, they willing to let it go for $1. And if all parties agree and the bankruptcy trustee has an offer for $1 and you're that person with the offer, guess what? You get the house for $1. And also, the bankruptcy trustee has the ability to wipe out any debt because it's a federal court. So most people are arguing in state court, which is a lower court. Whatever the hell the federal court is talking about, that's what it is. So when that final order is written and that bankruptcy trustee gives it to the bankruptcy judge and the judge signs off on it, that's a final order on a federal level, which means that you got fee simple title. But no, we want to go to Bank of America and we're going to get free loan product because there's no money down. That's what we want to do. We want to go to the NACA presentation. We want to sit through that BS. We just got to stop this, man. We got to stop the madness. You know what I'm saying? We got to get some knowledge. We got to get some understanding. And then we got to move on that information, man. We got, if I'm in Wayne County and I'm telling you the Land Bank Authority of Wayne County got a dollar program on the internet for $1, and all I got to do is tell them how I'm going to build a multifamily in Wayne County as an affordable housing solution.
Right.
I'm going to be at the Land Bank in the morning.
Exactly.
I heard the African History Network, and I heard this dude on there talking about Land Bank got houses for $1. Yo, Mike, where do I got to go?
Exactly. Land Bank Authority, and this is one of the reasons why it's important to have multiple streams of income. So you may have somebody who has a 9-to-5 job, and I don't disrespect, I don't denigrate people that got a 9-to-5. I don't denigrate people that have a 9-to-5 job, because people that own Black businesses need people with a 9-to-5 job and steady income to come spend money with their businesses so they can keep the doors open. But
we do have an obligation, Mike, to invest. If you work,
that's what I was about to say.
That's cool.
That's what I was about to say.
You have to invest.
That's what I was about to say. They can. This is an opportunity. They can take some of that money that they make at their job and buy some of these houses, buy some of this real estate, fix up the house. Okay, and they may be renting and they want to live in it. They may buy these houses and then start renting them out, things like that. But especially in these African American communities, we have to buy up the real estate in these communities. Okay, in these communities that we live in. Let me show you this quickly, and then because I also want to talk very quickly about the difference between economic empowerment and wealth creation and why we need both of them. Okay, because I make a clear distinction between the two. And a lot of people, you got people who call themselves economic empowerment gurus and things like that, and
I got something for that.
And they don't make the distinction.
They need to put up their tax returns.
Right. They don't make it. They don't make the distinction. Okay. So we talked about, so a lot of people have seen this story here. Then I'm going to show this article again, and then I'm going to show people the memo from the Department of Justice from 2014 dealing with Bank of America. Okay. Bank of America announces 0 down payment, 0 closing cost mortgages for first-time home buyers in Black and Hispanic communities nationwide. Residents in selected Charlotte, Dallas, Detroit, Los Angeles, and Miami neighborhoods will be offered the program first. Okay, so everybody, this is from NBCnews.com, August 31st, Wednesday, August 31st, 2022. If you go to the bottom of the article here, they have, towards the bottom of the article, it says, Bank of America and other major financial institutions like Wells Fargo have checkered histories when it comes to mortgage, and I want to increase the size of this also, have checkered histories when it comes to mortgage lending to people of color and prospective buyers who have disabilities. Bank of America's countrywide financial, and I remember countrywide financial, I remember seeing those commercials in like 2007, 2008. Bank of America's countrywide financial, a subprime lender it
Right.
purchased in 2008, was fined $335 million in 11 over claims that it charged Black and Hispanic home buyers higher interest rates than white applicants. And then what
Yep.
happened was that you had a lot of those no doc loans. You didn't need any
Yeah, they call
documentation.
exotic loan programs.
Exotic loan programs. Then you got hit with the balloon payments on
Right.
those properties, and then a lot of us couldn't make the balloon payments. We were targeted. They even found in the investigation, they even found African Americans who qualified for like regular mortgages were still steered towards subprime mortgages.
Correct.
Okay, so we had to pay these high interest rates. We end up losing the properties. Now, people, look at this right here. This is from the Department of Justice website. The Department of Justice website is justice.gov. Justice.gov. I'm on their website a number of times a week. For Department of Justice, okay, for immediate release Thursday, August 24th, 2014. Bank of America to pay $16.65 billion in historic Justice Department settlement for financial fraud leading up to and during the financial crisis. Okay, so part of the agreement that you were talking about with the Department of Justice is for Bank of America to do what they just announced on Wednesday. Okay,
Right.
to make these programs available. All right, so it's important for people to read this. Like you said, Bank of America is not our friend. I just want to read this first paragraph here. Attorney General Eric Holder and Associate Attorney General Tony West announced today, this is 2014, people, announced today that the Department of Justice has reached a $16.65 billion settlement with Bank of America Corporation, the largest civil settlement with a single entity in American history, to resolve federal and state claims against Bank of America and its former and current subsidiaries, including Countrywide Financial Corporation and Merrill Lynch. As part of this global resolution, the bank has agreed to pay a $5 billion penalty under the Financial Institutions Reform and Enforcement Act, the largest penalty ever, and provide the largest FIRA penalty ever, and provide billions of dollars of relief to struggling homeowners, including funds that will help defray tax liability as a result of mortgage modification, forbearance, or forgiveness. The settlement does not release individuals from civil charges, nor does it absolve Bank of America, its current or former subsidiaries and affiliates of any individuals from potential criminal prosecution. Okay, so read the rest of this here, but this deals with what Bank of America just announced, because they had to offer these types of programs based upon this historic settlement with the Department of Justice. Now, some people call them Skank of America, but we ain't gonna go there. Okay, but
I love it. I love it.
Okay,
I love it. I love it.
All right,
Stink old America.
Some people call them Skank of America, but okay, so Dave Anderson, how can people get in contact with you? How can people take your classes? We're talking about building and protecting Black wealth, but different strategies than what's talked about in mainstream media, which is really steering us.
Yeah, we being
steering us. Yep, being steered like with traditional mortgages. So let people know how they get in contact with you, take your classes, etc.
Yeah, so on the gram, I'm the Entrepro Negro, the entree, like entrepreneur, pro, like product, produce to bear forth fruit, and Negro, you know what I mean? Commit,
Right.
People with burnt faces. I'm the Entrepro Negro on the gram. I'm at Blackanomics on the Fed book, and on YouTube, I am Dr. David M. Anderson Sr. On the Facebook.
Okay. On Facebook. All right. So um we've talked about Wayne County. We talked about the Land Bank Authority. We talked about
Yeah.
Wayne County Tax Commission and going to these different tax commissions, bankruptcy courts, things like this to
Mm-hmm.
get to buy property at a fraction of the cost. Okay. Now you in the documentary Black Friday, and he and I are both in the documentary Black Friday from director Rick Mathis, along with Professor Kaba Hiawatha Kamene, is one of my teachers. He's in the documentary as well. You talk about tax lien certificates, and I remember we've been on tour with George Frazier before. We spoken at events with George Frazier in Seattle, Washington. I did when we were there, I did a lecture dealing with the history of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. So I had that lecture on DVD. I still say that lecture today. We did that in 2014. I still say that lecture today. Okay. You talk about tax lien certificates. Explain tax lien certificates, because you actually bought a $700,000 property in the film Black Friday for like a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, actually, that property, we've been in litigation. I think we bought that property in 2015 when we did the film Black Friday. And in the film, they like actually recorded me buy this property for like $13,500. Okay. And at the time, the property was like worth $400,000 or $500,000 at that time. Okay. So that property right now is worth $950,000.
Wow.
And what we did is we conducted a series of audits on the mortgage and on the amortization schedule. So we ordered a title, and we saw some things on the title that was inconsistent, which led us to order a something called a securitized mortgage audit.
But before we mortgage audit,
but before we even got to that, one of the partners at the firm, what happened was, in the title work, we had located a number of assignments. So this mortgage was assigned more than one time. It was signed like 3 or 4 times, maybe even 5 times. It was like 4 times, 3 to 4 times. And in the assignment, one of the documents was not the actual deed. One of the things that inconsistencies that came back was the deed was not properly witnessed. So in Georgia, you have to have a witness, you have to have a grantor and a grantee. It has to be notarized, right? And so they had the borrower's signature, but it wasn't witnessed. So in Georgia, if you don't have a witness, a notary, and a borrower's signature and the grantee signature, the deed is void on its face. So that was one major inconsistency. The second thing that we found there's a whole bunch of other inconsistencies that we found, but at the time when we first brought it to the attention of the attorney, he didn't have enough case law to argue it. So from 2015, when the movie came out, till now, there have been some other cases in Georgia that were argued at the Supreme Court level, and they gave us some precedent during the pandemic to double back and argue on those points. And one of the partners, actually the broker for the brokerage, Mr. Cole Jennings, she was able to bring this point back up to the attorney based off of this case law that was argued on the high level, on the Supreme Court level, or at the high court in Georgia. All right. So now my litigators had enough to stand on. Okay. And they refiled a new case with quiet title action, and we won. And the actual bank that we were fighting against is Bank of New York.
Bank of New York. Okay.
Chase JP Morgan. It's Chase JP Morgan.
JP
Morgan Chase in New York. All right. And I hate them. So this is like sweet. So long and the short, we the judge ruled in our favor with heavy reservation. He even put this on his notes, and even suggested to the other side that they file an appeal, which they've done. And so we've had to go back and argue those points, and we had to go before a special master, which is a third party, and we were able to win again in the special master. So all I'm saying is it'll be very shortly in the next, probably before the end of the year, we'll get a final order and we'll sell that house for like $950,000. And I'm sure my partner, William Walls, will be very happy about that. So I say all of this to say what we're talking about right now is not just something that is esoteric, right? This is something that we actually are doing right now. And I'm not super smart. It's not that I'm, some incredible business person. This is facts and circumstances. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
These are facts and these are circumstances. And if we are to do some due diligence on our own mortgages, on our, and understand what securitization really is, and then not just argue frivolously in, the lower court, but take your arguments and your legal theories, and put together a dope legal team and file, these petitions with facts and circumstances in the court. And more specifically, this is the crazy part. All of these banks are in New York, right?
Yes.
So instead of trying to file them in your lower court in your local jurisdictions where your house is, go take that to New York and hire an attorney up there in New York. Listen, they got a law in New York that just passed. It's the Foreclosure Defense Act. And what it says is that if you don't get a resolution in 6 years, if you got a case in the courts, deed fraud, whatever, promissory notes not signed, your deed is not properly witnessed, it's void on its face, whatever the argument is. If it don't have a resolution in 6 years, this act says that that mortgage is set aside.
If it doesn't have if it doesn't have what in 6 years, a resolution?
If you don't get to a resolution, like sometimes court case, like even with our case right now, the movie came out in 2015, right? We still litigate, but we even got a ruling. We got a ruling during the pandemic. You know what I'm saying? Just at the top of the year, we got a ruling, and now JP Morgan is like, oh, that's too much of a loss. They taking a $500,000 hit. They're like, oh, we got to go litigate. Now, after the fact, they're trying to turn it over, right?
Right.
So that's a real big loss on the books for them. So in New York, this is being argued here in Georgia, but in New York, if you don't get a resolution, that's 2015, right? We had the case. We bought the house in 2015. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. It's been 7 years we've been fighting. Right. But according to the rule in New York in 21, last year, if we would have started the case in the New York jurisdiction, Queens County, Kings County, whatever, Manhattan County, whatever. In last year, if we would have started in 2015, last year, we would have got fee simple title according to this law. If you have a case and you're arguing against the bank on a deed fraud case or securitization or mortgage audit or some kind of inconsistencies on that joint, and that case does not get a resolve in 6 years, your house is free and clear. That is now law in New York. And most of these banks are where? On Wall Street.
On Wall Street, exactly, New York.
That's reparations.
Yep, exactly. Very quick, because the most of the methods that people are talking about reparations, we're not gonna get it. We don't even understand how to make legal arguments for reparations.
Right.
That's part of the problem. Most of these arguments for reparations is a whole nother broadcast. Most of these arguments for reparations are not legal arguments. But
see, my brother, we got to get our straw man, brother Imhotep. You know what I'm saying, brother Michael? We got to understand that our 52 books. You understand? Our Sacagawea. You know what I'm saying? We was kidding the
I'm not even talking about that. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about saying Okay, now what I say may go outside this circumference of some people's awareness. Just because you disagree with it or don't like it does not mean it's not
Right, right,
true.
right, right.
Just means you have to do some research to understand what I'm
That's a
talking about.
very good
It,
way
it,
to say that, man.
it's
That's a
just like I
good,
learned
dope
that from
way
one
to
of my
say
teachers,
that.
Dr. Ray Higgins. I learned that from one of my teachers, Dr. Ray Higgins. But a lot of people say, okay, so our ancestors were for free, therefore the U.S. government owes us 42 trillion, or
Right, right.
one ridiculous study said we owe $6 quadrillion. You know, six quadrillion does not exist in the entire world. Okay, at
Not on
most
this
about
planet. It exists
not on
on
this
other
planet.
planets, but
At
not
most
here.
about there was an astrophysicist in 2021 that did the estimate, and he estimated that out of almost 8 billion people, the total value, the total monetary, the total value of the money owned by 8 million people, 8 billion people, was about 5 quadrillion. So 6 quadrillion doesn't even exist in the entire world. Now here's the problem, right? So people say, okay, our ancestors worked for free for 246 years, therefore you owe us X amount of trillions of dollars. It was legal not to pay the enslaved African people. It was legal to enslave them. The colonies like the Virginia Slave Code of 1705. The first colony in this country to have codified slave laws was Maryland in 1641. They come to Virginia about 1660.
Get him, Mike.
What law are you citing that slaves were supposed to be paid in the first place? See, this is how people don't understand how to make a premise argument based upon facts. It was legal not to pay them. So yes, slavery was morally wrong. Yes, it should not have happened. Yes, we should fight for repairing the damage of a legacy of slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, redlining, things like this. But your premise argument is not a legal argument. The foundation for a legal argument for reparations is Article 1, Section 9, Clause 1 of the U.S. Constitution, which is why the international transatlantic slave trade was abolished March 2nd, 1807 by the U.S. Congress. It goes into effect January 1st, 1808, and an international transatlantic slave trade was the trade of bringing Africans into the country, okay? All the Africans that were brought in from January 1st, 1808 to about July 1860, when the Clotilda comes into Alabama, and that was illegal. All that was illegal based upon federal law. Right. So now you got the foundation for a legal argument because they violated federal law. Right. But you got to understand history and law to understand that, to be able to make that argument. Now, at the beginning of our conversation, you talked about Lloyd's of London. Okay, we look at this article here from Reuters.com. This is from what's the date on this? This is from June 18th, 2020. Lloyd's of London to pay for shameful Atlantic slave trade role. Lloyd's of London.
Let me tell you how this went down. Right.
Go ahead.
I used to think that, you know, when we did the film Black Friday, one of the, in the second film that came out, one of the things that Rick
followed the Black Friday remix, and then you had the
he had this remix as well. Yeah, but we had a conversation about you know, what really should happen, and I had talked to Rick about the history of slavery in New York, and at the time he really didn't understand. He had no idea about it, and so I had made mention to him that the slaves were brought to New York first, and they were brokered on Wall Street. In fact, the reason why Wall Street was built by Jews, the money was put up by the Jews, was to create this wall so that, because the stench of the human cargo that was traveling for all that time to get there, it smelled so bad that they built up a wall to try to stop the stench. That's what Wall Street is about. And so when we get into this, we have to understand that it's not just white people that are like, oh, the man enslaved us. Jews financed it. Okay, they put the white folks didn't have no money. The white people had to come to the Jews to get the money to build the vessels, to do the shipbuilding. Okay, the Jews put the money up, and then further they went to institutions like Lloyd's of London because it was an international voyage. It was an expedition in a corporation. So you got companies like MetLife, New York Life, you know, these are in Lloyd's of London. These are the three companies, main companies, that was creating policies on human cargo. It wasn't even human, because they said that if there, in event of a loss of cargo, and this is on the record, in event of loss of cargo, the slave masters is who took the policies out on the chattel. That's what it was called, chattel. And the chattel was equivalent to 3/5 of a man. And so the slave master got the policy payout. The slave master got the beneficiary. Was the beneficiary of the policy and got the money. So they had two types of policies. They had the policies for the people who were building the ships, that were taking the risk as an entrepreneur, investing in this to put a wrap around the ship and the cargo. And then they had policies that were written on behalf of the slave masters to cover their loss on their labor. Crazy. And the Jews were involved in facilitating those transactions. The whole thing is nuts.
Right. We
so
had,
we owe
Jews,
a whole lot.
Europeans. So let me do this. Let me just back up a little bit, and let me just add a different add some additional historical context and clarification to this as well. So if we look at I encourage people to read, because and for those that don't know, I teach online history classes, ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. I'm gonna give you some information at the end of this broadcast about that, because we have a new class. It's an 8-week online class that I teach. We have that starting up September 8th. 2022, Thursday, September 8th, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll let you know how you can register for that. And we have the information at our website, TheAHNShow.com. So I encourage people to read this article here from AtlantaBlackStar.com, 7 eye-opening facts on how Wall Street was built and created via slavery. So the wall that where Wall Street gets its name from, that was built in 1627, because the colony of New York used to be the Dutch colony of New Amsterdam. Okay, because the Dutch were here in this land as well. The Spanish were here. The Spanish were here before the Dutch and the British, because the Spanish tried to be in the South Carolina, Georgia area in 1526. And those
it was like the Spanish, the Dutch, the English, the British,
English. Yeah, they were all
here. But Taínos, the Indians was already here.
Yeah, but this, because the Spanish were the second ones involved in the transatlantic slave trade. So the Spanish were here before the British come here. Okay, but there was a Dutch colony called New Amsterdam, and this was set up by the Dutch West India Company, because these Europeans are organizing themselves into slave trading companies, and they're financed by the wealthy. They're financed by the royalty. They're financed by banks, things like this. Okay, and the enslaved Africans built the wall that gives Wall Street is named, forming the northern boundary of the colony that warded off resisting natives who wanted their land back. Okay, so that wall actually goes back to 1627, and then the first commodity traded on Wall Street when it becomes a British colony, the New York colony,
was a black man.
Was going to be the Africans. Yeah, those Africans.
That's right.
They were the first commodity that was traded on Wall Street.
That's why there's a bull. That's why when that dude made that bull and dropped it off late at night, and then his balls is hanging, it was an ode to the black African, because they put the black African on a stock. That's how the stock market got its name, because they used to start the auction at $100. So they put this black bull with his mandingo on the stock, and then sold him enslaved for $100. That's why they got the bull there. They talk about the bulls and the bears. That's BS. That comes from the black man being the first quote unquote stock being sold there. It's crazy, man. The history is just nuts.
Yeah, Professor Kaba Kamene, who's in Black Friday with this, he says that the original name, we talk about stocks and bonds. He says it was originally called livestock and bondage.
Livestock, yes, he's correct.
Livestock and bondage. And the original, and the bondage were the African slaves. It was originally called livestock and bondage. That's where stocks and bonds comes from. So you talked about the insurance companies, right? So this article here from the New York Times, this deals with the history of the New York Life Insurance Company. The Life Insurance Company starts in the spring of 1845 as the Nautilus Mutual Life Insurance Company, and they sell the first 3 years they sell 508 insurance policies covering enslaved Africans, but they were selling these policies also on Africans on the plantations. Okay, because this was a business. There's about 40 insurance companies in the U.S. that sold policies on Africans on the plantations, and what they did was when if a slave died prematurely or something like that, they would collect about 3/4 of the value of that slave, okay, and then go buy another one. So the New York Life Insurance Company, they have been forthright with their history, with this history, but this is an extensive article that deals with that. Okay, so people can check this out as well. So for the first 3 years, they sold insurance policies on enslaved Africans on the plantations, and then they basically got out of that business. But that's for the first 3 years. Okay, so so Dave, what do you want people to take away from this building black wealth and protecting black wealth conversation?
Yeah, man, we just have to get into different aspects of wealth building, true wealth building. We can't just say, "Oh, I bought a house and I used the mortgage." Like, stop it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? we have to buy a house and own it outright. That's step
Right.
one. You know, people are talking about, oh, you know, blah, 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 blah. But we have to do the basics, man. We have to, you know, there's a road, there's a pathway to wealth building.
Okay.
And because our white counterparts are further along than we are, because of these things that you talk about in your show, we have to do things differently to play catch up. So we can't have mortgages. We can't have car notes. We can't have mortgages. We can't use student loans. We can't have boat notes if we have boats. I mean, we have to do things differently so that we can get in a position to build wealth. And when people say, oh, that's, you know, it's easier said than done, Dr. Anderson, no, it's being done right now. It's different. It's just not, your brain, you just have to retrain your brain to think differently. Right. And so my message is we have to look at something called real estate arbitrage. When we start talking about, yo, I'm filing cases in New York against Chase, JP Morgan, and I done, you know, did a securitization audit, mortgage audit, and an amortization audit. We not playing. We coming for the jugular. We coming for all of that. You know what I mean? Because that's black power. That's economic empowerment to the fullest extent of the law. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's the position that we got to take. We can't be putting our fists in the air talking about we want reparations and we paying mortgages to the same people who was involved with enslaving our ancestors. We giving them money. We putting our money. We having our money held there. We shouldn't be putting our money in banks anyway. The FDIC only insures you up to $250,000.
250,000. Now, at one point, wasn't it 100,000? At one point, wasn't it only 100?
And then, and after the crash or whatever, they increased
2008,
it to
2008, 2009.
2009. It was like Obama increased it. It was during the Obama administration. They increased it to 250. But what I'm saying is because they don't insure past 250, you shouldn't have more than 250 in the bank.
Okay, so it's good that they increased it. It's good that they increased it from 100,000 to 250,000, but we shouldn't have more than 250,000 in the bank.
Cash, no.
Cash, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you send that to that kind of money, anything 250 plus, you send to the insurance company. You know what I'm saying? You can send that back to New York Life. You know, if you win the lotto, you get $1 million. The first thing you need to do is get New York Life on the phone or Mass Mutual or Lafayette and give them the $1 million in cash on a whole life policy. Because what that's going to do is that's going to give you access to the cash, and New York Life will give you access to that $1 million in 72 hours. All right.
Okay.
So you're going to still have the $1 million in cash, right? And they're going to give you a death benefit for $3 to $5 million, depending on the actuarial science. You know, how healthy you are, if you got diabetes, whatever. So now you got a death benefit that you can leave to your family between $3 and $5 million. And now you got access to this $1 million in cash. So if you do need the money, you just call them and you be like, yo, wire this money to this account. It's there in 24 hours. And, and it's a loan. So it ain't even a tax. It ain't even coming as a capital gain. You got 100 G's that just came in. You should be able to go to the Wayne County tax sale and buy everything up, and then turn around and
Wow.
sell it and put that 100 G's back into the insurance policy. That's how wealth is built.
Right.
It's not
Right.
built at the sitco playing scratch off, talking about give me 4, 5, 6 straight box. And
Exactly,
7, 8,
man.
9, 10 straight box.
It's not playing the lottery, man. Because when I go to the grocery store, there's a grocery store right near where I live, man. It's always a line of,
Always.
and I love them. I love them. I love them. There's always a line of African American senior citizens
On the line. On the line.
playing the lottery. You know,
And they know the
and I know it
Arab's
goes
name.
back. I know it goes
They know
back
that
to
Arab name by heart. Whatever the Arab's American name is. Mike. Give me that give me that Mega Million.
Now I know it goes back. I know before it became the state lottery and the lotto, I know it was the numbers, and we controlled it in many of our communities, like
Yeah, it was
Bumpy
called policy.
Johnson policy. Yeah, like Bumpy
Mhm.
Johnson in Harlem, things like that. You still there, Dave? Your
Yeah, I'm
screen went
here.
black. Okay, your screen went black.
Sorry about that, man. I'm here.
Yeah, okay. So I know I know that was that, but we have to retrain our brain. Okay. Now, very quickly here, and then check your phone, Dave, because your screen went black.
Okay, hold on.
Let's see. Let's try to reconnect them. Okay. You talked about JP Morgan Chase. I want to go back to the article very quickly here, dealing with Bank of America. An announcement from Bank of America in 2012. Wells Fargo agreed to pay $175 million to settle claims that it targeted people of color with risky loans that were more expensive. And the city of Miami sued JP Morgan Chase, that you just mentioned, JP Morgan Chase, in 2014, accusing the bank of predatory lending in communities of color. So when we, once again, everybody, this is from the article, and we posted this on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. So if you don't follow us there, make sure you follow us there. Turn on live notifications so you know when we go live. Bank of America announces zero down payment, zero closing cost mortgages for first-time home buyers in Black and Hispanic communities nationwide. This is from Wednesday, August 31st, 2022. But they had to do that because that goes back to when they had to pay a $16 billion settlement with the Department of Justice. Okay,
Right.
back in 2014. That's what that goes back to. We talked about this here. This is at justice.gov. I encourage people to go to justice.gov. That's the official website of the U.S. Department of Justice. This immediate release, this press release, Thursday, August 21st, 2014. Bank of America to pay $16.65 billion in historic Justice Department settlement for financial fraud leading up to and during the financial crisis. So I said I was going to talk briefly about the difference between economic empowerment and wealth creation, and we may have touched on this in the film Black Friday as well. So wealth creation, we need both wealth creation and economic empowerment, but they're two different things. Wealth creation, wealth is just basically assets minus liability, and having positive amount once you subtract your liabilities, assets minus liabilities. We could all have stock portfolios valued at $5 million, and we could still be spending 97% of our dollars with people that don't look like us.
Mm-hmm.
So we could still we could still now own the gas stations, the grocery stores, the apartment buildings, the radio stations, the TV stations, the houses in our community, and still and have $5 million in our stock portfolio. You have wealth creation, but you don't have economic empowerment. Economic empowerment comes when you take that wealth and transform it to buy those assets. And we have to control that in our community, control the economies in our community, the real estate, the gas stations, the grocery stores, the radio stations, TV stations, apartment buildings, all that in our communities. And you take that, and when you acquire those assets, you can also control the politicians in your community as well. Mm-hmm. That sounds a lot like the Black nationalism that Malcolm X was talking about in The Ballad and the Bullet. In the Black nationalism, Malcolm X was preaching, especially after he leaves the Nation of Islam, March 8th, 1963. Okay, so or 64, I should say. Um, so we have to understand we need both wealth creation and economic empowerment, but we have to understand them as two different things, okay? Because you have some people that talk about wealth creation, but don't make the distinction between wealth creation and economic empowerment, okay? And one of the things that I think is important for us to understand, if you're going to invest in the stock market, you want to make sure you're investing in companies that are not taking that money and doing harm to the African American community at the same time.
Yo,
Okay.
check this out, Mike.
Yeah.
And black people are notorious for this because what we're seeing, what we find, like we got a Bloomberg terminal, so we do research, right? We see in black
Explain to
people,
people what the Bloomberg terminal is. I read Bloomberg every
yeah. So
day, and
it's
I
a
know they have
device.
the
It's direct
Mhm.
access to the portal. So like if we need to
Okay.
go and check out, the health of a company because somebody's going to buy it, we got access to that. Who the owners are, everything is there. Like how much money they
Right.
made, their tax returns, all of that.
Right.
So
Right.
like it ain't nobody coming in the office talking about, yeah, we own this building and and we don't know who the owners are, right? This
Right.
is another
Right.
level of information. But I say all this to say the number one stock in the country right now is something called CCA, right? That stands for
Correct.
Corrections Corporation of America.
Corporation of
Right,
America.
right.
Yeah.
And
But not
Vanguard,
their name now is Core. Their name now is Core Civic. They changed
yeah,
their name to
they had to
Core
change the
Civic.
name, but
CCA.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Right.
And Vanguard is the number
Mm-hmm.
one beneficiary company that puts people into that vehicle. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of black people in these C-suite jobs that, got these 401k plans are caught
There you
up
go.
and invested heavily in Vanguard. Like you can't
Yeah.
tell me that you're
Yeah.
not the number one person who owns the most stock was Bob Barker and then Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's portfolio, 80% of it is tied up in prison industrial complex. So,
What is this? Okay, so what's the name? It's not on his personal name because I researched that with Michael Jordan. I
yeah,
couldn't
it's
really
his
find
corporation,
anything
it's his
on that.
company. It's like MJ something. I
So
don't have it right now, but I'll email it to
okay,
you when I get to the office. I haven't looked it up,
okay,
but I mean,
okay.
it's a fact. You could just Google it. You know what I'm saying? Like, who's the most Vanguard most
Vanguard, yeah.
how much of Michael Jordan's portfolio is leveraged in Vanguard? Google that, and it'll tell you exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But I say this to say there's no consciousness, there's no African consciousness as it relates to Michael Jordan's investment practices. That's a problem,
Mm-hmm.
yo. That's a
Right. So
problem.
so this is something, and this is why if people want to invest in the stock market, and I've owned stocks in the past. If people want to invest in the stock market, okay, but you have to make sure. So we want to make sure that we're not investing our money into corporations that do
But Mike,
harm to the African
that's
American
not wealth
community as
building though.
well.
That's not wealth building.
Yeah,
That's still taking a risk because it's an equities market. See, with the equities
right,
market, we don't control that, right? We can't. Most of
right,
the trading, most of the money is done. The money move overnight in overnight trading. We getting in
right.
and we staying in stocks even when they're going sideways or in the opposite direction. When you're looking at
Mm-hmm.
how black wealth was built, like we talking about the first recorded black millionaire in United States history, Alonzo Herndon. This dude's money came out of
Okay,
the real estate market, and then he got into
okay.
insurance. But he got
That
into
was at
that
the Wolf.
game.
Was that the Wolf of Wall Street, the Black
No,
Wolf
this
of
is
Wall Street, or
Atlanta
something like that?
Life. Atlanta Life
Oh, Atlanta Life.
Company
Okay,
was the first black recorded
Alonzo Herndon.
millionaire. Alonzo Herndon is the
Okay.
first black recorded millionaire in Georgia. Okay, and so
Mm-hmm.
he was and he owned a barbershop, he cut some hair, bought some real estate, got into insurance. That was his path to
Right.
wealth. Those are all tangible
Mm-hmm.
things. The gentleman who you're
Mm-hmm.
discussing, I think his name is Jeremiah
Yeah.
G. Hamilton, and he
Yeah.
wasn't considered the Wolf of Wall Street. He was considered the Prince of Darkness. The Wolf of Wall Street
Mm-hmm.
was his white counterpart, who was stealing
Yeah.
information from Jeremiah Hamilton, from what I understand. And then there's a book on Amazon. I'm sure you'll love it. It's an incredible read. It talks about his
Okay.
biography, Jeremiah G. Hamilton, and
Right.
he was the first black recorded billionaire in U.S. history.
Right.
So, well, we'll say multimillionaire, but in my opinion, he was a billionaire because white folks wouldn't have never wanted him to have that title. But this
Mm-hmm.
dude was a billionaire, period. And he made his money on Wall Street, practicing what we call arbitrage.
Right.
And he was heavily invested in overnight trading. How a black man was able to participate in overnight trading during that time, I don't know. His story is incredible. The Prince of Darkness, and it is where they got that whole Black Wolf of Wall Street concept from. But there's what I'm getting at is they're instances of what wealth looks like.
Right.
And we just have to practice that. Madam C.J. Walker was a real estate investor. She owned property in Irvington, New York.
Yes.
And her next door neighbor was Rockefeller.
Rockefeller,
You know what I'm saying? And she was in a mansion with 100 black people that she was hiring. So
right.
her
mentor,
her mentor, that's what I was going with. Turnbull Malone was a
Annie Turnbull
multi-millionaire.
Malone. She was too, Malone. And she owned real estate also. Annie Turnbull Malone.
She had her own college, Provo College, and she was a multi-millionaire because remember, Madam C.J. Walker worked for her and became a multi-millionaire. So Miss Turnbull Malone was probably a billionaire.
Industry.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how she learned the hair care industry. Yep.
Exactly. So we have we have instances of what Black wealth looks like. We just have to do the research. That's why I love the African History Network so much, because we have to do the research and the history to know who we are. And then we can subscribe to these ideas that are not even ours.
Exactly. And I want to go to this article here in just a second. I know you got to run, Dave. But also, everybody, if you like this type of information, Dave dropped out. His phone may have died. He should be back, though. Okay, you dropped out for a second, Dave. Okay, and I know you got to run. I want to go to this article in just a minute. But everybody watching, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, because $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills as well. And we have the information at our new website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, right on the homepage. And this is our official Cash App account, $ the AHN show, SHOW. When you go to it, it says Michael and shows my picture there. These other ones here are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. I'm still trying to get shut down. There's some other ones out there. I've opened up an investigation with Cash App because there have been these fake accounts out there stealing money from us. Okay, now I want to go to this article here, and we're going to get Dave back. Dave, your screen is blank.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So going back to what you're talking about with stocks being invested in privatized prisons, but also pension fund dollars being invested in privatized prisons. This is something that I've been talking about in my lectures, things like this, because a lot of African Americans, we need pension fund. I'm not telling people get rid of pension funds, but you have the ability, you can contact your benefits manager and find out which industries your pension funds are invested in, right? So this is from June 8th, 2017, New York Daily News. New York City pension fund to back out of investments in private prisons. So what happened was, and they actually did back out, withdraw their money that was invested in 3 privatized prisons. The research was done, and they found out that let's see, New York City's pension system has become the first in the nation to fully divest from private prisons. Controller Scott Stringer will announce Thursday, and they actually divested. The city has sold off $48 million in stocks and bonds from 3 privatized prisons, according to Controller's office, after a unanimous vote from the fund's trustees. Okay, now the move comes after a scathing federal audit of private prison facilities last year, so it'd be 2016, and after 8 immigrant detainees have died in the last fiscal year while in private immigration detention centers, which house 65% of immigration and customs enforcement detainees, ICE. When we go to companies, the trustees of the city's pension funds voted in favor of divesting in a mid-May meeting the stocks and bonds in 3 companies: Geo Group, which used to be Wackenhut; Core Civic, which used to be Corrections Corporation of America that you mentioned a few minutes ago,
Imhotep.
and then G4S have since been sold. Now, these are the 3 largest owner-operators of privatized prisons in the country. Now,
What?
people,
Come on,
huh?
Mike. This is
Yeah,
dope. I love your research, man.
Core Civic and Geo Group, they also donated about $600,000 to Donald Trump's 2016 campaign. Okay, then now people follow this. In 2016, the Obama administration announced that they were not going to renew federal contracts with privatized prisons. Okay, and I've got thousands of articles, so I have articles on this. I'm going into my archives. I ain't going into Google to get this stuff. I'm going into my archives to
Go
pull this
ahead,
stuff
Mike.
up.
Go ahead,
Okay, all right. So this is what happened. In 2016, the Obama administration announced that they were not going to renew um, federal contracts with privatized prisons. Okay, and then when that news came out, the stock prices of Core Civic and Geo Group, they took a big hit the day that they came out. And I think AtlantaBlackStar.com has an article on it. I'm going into my archives here because I deal with this. I deal with this in one of my lectures as well. Let me see right here. I think this is it. U.S. Justice Department says goodbye to use of private prisons. Okay, yeah, this is it right here. Okay, let's look at this article. So what happened was when Trump became president through way of the Electoral College, because we don't understand how the Electoral College works, okay, and didn't understand the voter suppression, and then you have Russian intervention, all this stuff. When Trump becomes president, he reverses that. The stock price of Core Civic and Geo Group went through the roof on that announcement, and then they got lucrative contracts to house migrants coming into the country from the Trump administration. So this article here, August 18th, 2016, AtlantaBlackStar.com, U.S. Justice says goodbye to use of private prisons. The Department of Justice announced plans to end its use of private prisons Thursday, citing the major safety and security issues that occur at privately operated facilities. Okay, now according to the Washington Post, Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates made the announcement in a memo Thursday, telling officials to cease the renewal of contracts with privatized prisons. The day this announcement came out, the stock prices of Core Civic and Geo Group took a big hit. Okay, when Trump became president, and they mentioned here, let me close this out here because they mentioned, let me see, close this ad out here. Okay, they mentioned right here. Okay, according to CNBC News, prison stocks plummeted after the Department of Justice made this announcement. The stocks for major prison companies like Corrections Corporation of America, okay, which changed its name to Core Civic, right here. Let's see, go back to this right here. Hold on, where do we go? Okay, let me find that again. Okay, according to CNBC News, prison stocks plummeted after the Department of Justice made its announcement. The stocks for major prison companies like Corrections Corporation of America, which is now Core Civic, and Geo Group, which used to be Wackenhut, plunged a whopping 40% Thursday afternoon. In one day, the day this news came out, those stocks took a big hit. Trading in both stocks were occasionally halted amid the sharp decline, the news site reported. The companies are two of the largest publicly traded private prison operators. Now, many African Americans unknowingly are invested in these private prison corporations.
Here it is.
Through our 401k plans, through our Vanguard, through our 401k plans and through our pension fund plans. Okay. The companies, okay, Yates, okay. And so a lot of us don't know this. So we can contact our benefit managers when next time you go to work and find out who are your 401k plans invested with, which companies, who is your pension fund invested with.
The benefits manager, they need to do more than that. They need to get a copy of their statement. And because on the statement, what happens is they have these little tickers, right? And it'll be like A, B, C,
Now
D,
your
E,
head
F,
is like your
G.
face is like really distorted, Dave. I don't know what happened. Would you get you got the funny mirror? You got the funny mirror filter on or something like that?
I don't got no filters on. I don't know. It might be the
Okay.
internet. But bottom
Okay.
line, the audio
Go
is
ahead.
still
Go
good.
ahead. Yeah.
But
Go
what
ahead.
they'll do is on the tickers are always going to be on the statements, and because
Mhm.
these are funds, they'll say it's ABCD 123 fund, right? But it won't say what that fund is invested in. So you have to
Right.
like literally, I remember when I had to talk to Morgan Stanley, I was like, I had the meeting. They were like, well, Dr. Anderson, we got you in some softs and some hards. I'm like, nah, nigga, what you got me in? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is that? Well, we're
Right.
doing in emerging markets and, we're doing real well. Like, what do you mean? Like, what are you saying? Like, what is this? And I had to really like get real aggressive and real belligerent with them for them to disclose that, in fact, Vanguard got you in the CCA. And I'm like, yo, why would y'all allow that?
Corrections Corporation of America.
Yeah,
Right. So a
exactly.
lot
You
of
know what
us.
I'm saying?
So this goes back to me. What I'm saying is like when it comes to these investments, if you're going to invest in the stock market, if you're going to have pension funds, we want to make sure that we're not financing our own dehumanization. Because a
Right.
lot of times we're invested in these companies that are hurting our communities. And then the other thing is that a lot of the business developers, they'll go to the pension fund, the money managers, and the business developers will loan the money managers will loan the business developers money from our pension funds. And then those business developers come into our communities and gentrify us out of our own communities with money they got from our pension funds.
Yeah, because all of
That's
that
another
whole financial services sector is all referral based, right? So
referral
there's
base.
they're on the chat, giving emojis. So fast shout out to the Fly Girl and a brother named
Hey,
John
Fly Girl,
Hill
how you doing?
Jr. appears to
Okay, John
be
here.
on my block where I live at home. It's real personal. This
Okay,
good Pelham Parkway on there. So, but I
okay,
say all this to say, people are listening, they're engaging. So I want to give them a shout out. But I mean, we have to kind of understand these things. We have to understand that the financial services industry is referral based, is what I was trying to get out. Not just relationship based, but referral based. So if someone sends
mm-hmm.
$10 million to me, right, for us to manage or place those dollars in real estate tax lien certificates by way of self-direction, using self-directed IRAs or whatever, then they're doing that because they want to get a return on their money, right? They want 5%, or they want us to, guarantee them 8%. We can do that when the equities market is going backwards because of the type of asset class that we're investing in. You know what I'm saying? In Georgia, tax liens are guaranteed at 20% in the first year, 10% in the second. That's 30%. If the bank in Philly is going to give me $10 million and they're going to give me 36 months to pay them, and the law in Georgia is that I'm going to make at least 30 to 40% in 36 months, and they only want 5% back, that's good business. They're giving us the capital to make
Right,
acquisitions. They're giving us 36 months to return that capital. I know that our firm can do 30 to 35% on that, and they only want 5% back. That's good business. So those are the kinds
right.
of decisions that we have to start, making in terms of capital and cash reserves and allowances, and being able to even raise that kind of capital. We have to know how to do that. And we're not doing that. We're just
Exactly.
saying, okay, white man, here's my whole entire nest egg. Here's $500,000. Do right by me. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
To get me
right,
into financial solvency. That's not going to happen. White people they don't have our best
right.
interests in heart. I'm not, this is not a racist statement. It's just, they don't have our best interests at heart. So we have to become the experts for our own retirements. We need to start using some form of self-direction. That's a whole nother conversation. And we need to invest in
Mm-hmm.
things that make sense. I don't invest in the prison industrial
Right.
complex. I don't invest in companies that don't have our best interests at heart. I just don't do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
exactly. That's why we have to have some standards. So that's why you have to have knowledge along with you have to have knowledge, self-esteem along with the wealth creation, because you can go invest in corporations that are doing harm in our community. And then if you don't have the right consciousness, you can take that money that you make and then go give it right back to white corporations. You
it's
know,
horrible, man.
so this article here, now this is what happened. This is what happened after Trump came into office under his first attorney general, Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III. U.S.
You got
reverses
some old
Obama.
government name.
Yeah, U.S. reverses Obama era move to phase out private prisons. Now, this is one of the first moves Jeff Sessions did. This is when he became Attorney General. This is February 23rd, 2017. Okay, this is an example of how elections have consequences. The U.S. Justice Department has reversed an order by the Obama administration to phase out the use of private contractors to run federal prisons. In a memo made public on Thursday, Attorney General Jeff Sessions said the Obama policy impaired the government's ability to meet the future needs of the federal prison system. Okay. Now, the Obama administration said in August 2017, let me scroll down. Okay, the Obama administration said in August 2017, and a gradual phase out of private prisons by letting contracts expire or by scaling them back to a level consistent with recent declines in the U.S. prison population, because the U.S. prison population declined for 8 consecutive years under the Obama administration. Okay, people have to understand this. All right. Now, it said privately operated prisons were less safe and a poor substitute for government-run facilities. Okay, so read the rest of this here. Now, when this news came out, the stock prices of Core Civic and Geo Group shot up. Okay, the day that this news came out. Okay, shares of the two leading U.S. private companies gained, and after trading with Geo Group up 2.5%. But no, there was one day when this news really hit, their stock prices shot up. Okay, so check this out as well. But this is an example of how elections have consequences, and a lot of people don't understand how we're financing our own dehumanization by not knowing where your dollars are invested. Okay, so that's why this is extremely important. All right, Dave, look, I know you got to run. Go ahead with your last comments and let people know if there are any websites, and tell people about your radio show and different things like that.
Well, first off, before we get into all of that, I want folks to support this African History Network, because this brother Michael Imhotep has done a lot for the community. He's put it on the line, man. This cat has committed. A lot of stuff
was free too.
He's committed to this, man. You know, during the entire pandemic, he never let up. This information was still flowing. There was no interruption. And we just have to support this brother financially. I mean, our scholars are dying. Renuku Rushidi ain't coming back, right?
Yeah, Renuku.
He's done. Rest in peace to the ancestor. You know what I'm saying? We don't know how long we're gonna have George Fraser. We don't know how long we're gonna have Claude Anderson. We don't know how long we're gonna have Anthony Browder and Mr. Robertson. All these people. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. Right. We don't even know how long we're gonna have the African scholars. Because I'm talking about economic scholars. We're not talking about the African historical context scholars. They're dying. So this new, who is the new or the younger generation that's going to carry this torch? And you're doing that. You've done that. You've been consistent with that.
Oh, yeah,
and so this has to be
12 years, man. The African History Network, so 12 years.
This has to be supported. This is, and I know how this is. I mean, I built the Empowerment Radio Network. You talking about Roland Martin? You're talking about Warren Ballantyne. Rashad Ritchie got his start, and then look what Rashad is doing now. He got his start on the Empowerment Radio Network. Bev Smith,
and I was on the Empowerment Radio Network also.
Michael
that's how I connected with Roland Martin.
Yeah, that's how you got on.
That's how I connected with Roland.
Empowerment Radio Network. So I get it.
Now I'm on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Yeah. You're on the show and
for free too.
All of these people, but we got to start monetizing these things. You know what I'm saying? Empowerment Radio Network crippled itself because the listeners, the 2 or 3 million listeners that we had listening on a regular basis, did not support it. People ask me, what happened? Blah blah blah. It's like nothing happened. Everything is there. You know, the studio's still there. The phone is
Right.
still on. The office number for the Empowerment Radio Network just happened to turn into my real estate investment company. It's still there.
Right.
But the people didn't support it financially. And it just didn't make good business for me as an individual to keep putting in millions of dollars to let Black people absorb this great, incredible resource,
Information.
and they not,
Yep.
you know, put something back in the Tilly. So I'm just making a cry of awareness, you know, for my brother, because I get it. I know what goes into this. You know, I had to take a break from it because it was
Yep.
killing me. I wanted it more
Yep.
for the people than the people wanted it for themselves.
Right.
And I had to, you know, I had to reorientate my thing, man. I had to, you know, love myself enough to not let myself, you know, go backwards and lose what it is that we had built, and try to build something that's going to make sense. So I say all this to say, you know, this African History Network needs to be supported. We're going to continue to support the show however we can, Mike. But I want this is a community. You talk about community. This is a community effort. This task is so huge. It should not just be rested on Mike's back solely. Mike, the African History Network needs volunteers to help carry the load. We need another 10, 12 years from this brother. And he can't do it by himself. Yep. He's just been one man banding it out. And it just, you know, business is a team sport. Mr. Roberts teaches us this. Mr. Frazier says this in his speeches, that business is a team sport. So we have to play as a team, and we have to do our part. We have to support. Negroes support public radio. They support PBS. White people support PBS. They supported Mr. Rogers. They supported the Sesame Street. We got to support the African History Network. This is how it goes. So cut the check, cut the check, cut the check. What's the Cash App, the PayPal, the AHN
dollar sign,
dollar sign, the AHN show. I'm gonna get a T-shirt.
And PayPal,
I'm gonna start wearing that.
PayPal.me/the AHN show. Yep. Yeah. And also I know through PayPal you can set up for recurring donation. Also, you can register for the online classes that I teach. We have them starting up Thursday, September 8th. You can register now. As soon as you register, there's bonus content you can start watching.
And then Mike got merchandise. We got AHN merchandise coming. We got cups and mugs and T-shirts, merch.
We're working on that. Yeah. So when I get finished with this interview with David, everybody keep watching, and we'll do a brief overview of the classes. Okay, Dave, look, I know you got to run. So how did you say people can listen to the show?
Yeah. So right now,
Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm on the air. Obviously, I can't stop being on the radio. So I do this thing for Audacity, which is the heritage station here in Atlanta, V103 and WAOK respectively, on Wednesday morning. It's part of the Rashad Ritchie Morning Show from 8 to 9. And Wealth Wednesday is a platform where we just, we kind of just did Wealth Wednesday on Thursday here. But we kind of try to, raise the awareness of what we need to do, how we need to do it. So that's in the morning, 8 a.m. And then we have a show. I have a brand new studio somewhere underground in Atlanta. And
okay,
we do the whole Wealth Wednesday thing from 8 p.m. on the social media platforms. We just had a DivX box built and a whole bunch of technology brought in. We got the screen with the lower thirds, and it's just dope, man. It's really dope. It's like Black NN. It's like BNN. Right. And we deal with finance. You know what I'm saying? We have different experts come in. We got Robert F. Smith, interviews with Robert F. Smith. We got interviews with David Stern. We got interviews, David Stewart, excuse me. We got a lot of dope stuff coming out, you know what I'm saying, as it relates to Black entrepreneurship. And people will be able to participate with that, engage. There's a lot of podcasts going on. People forget that Blackanomics started in 2009 on Sirius XM, 2008, excuse me, Sirius XM. It ran for over 10 years. So, not everybody has a podcast. Everybody's an expert. Everybody's, a financial guru.
Right.
But, we've got a legacy show with Blackanomics. So that's also coming back out on Saturdays in the morning onto a number of radio stations. It'll be on the website, the stations. And of course you can get it online on TuneIn.
When is that going to start up?
In
You
a
know,
couple of weeks, we're finishing the last
couple.
finishing
Oh,
touches in the studio. I'm putting. I got to get an MPLS circuit in the studio, and I got to condition my
okay.
power. So the electrician's coming in tomorrow to do the power conditioning. But I mean, we're almost there. All the
Wow.
equipment is downstairs. It's ready to go, man. I'm excited about it. So Blackanomics will be an
Wow.
experience. You know what I mean? Where people can see it, they can call in. We can be more interactive than we were in the past, and we can do some
Okay.
education. It's really just about education. You know, but when we first started, we didn't know what we was doing. We were real clear on what's going on, and I think people know that.
Right. We
You
went
know
through
what I'm
some
saying?
growing pains with the Parliament
Yeah,
Radio Network.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it was
Yeah.
necessary, man. We didn't make millions of dollars on that deal, but the
Hmm.
relationships that we built are a lifetime, man. I mean, David Wren, is amazing. You're amazing. I mean, Warren is
Oh
amazing.
yeah.
Like everybody that was a part of
Right.
that is a family
Bev
member. You know what I'm
Smith.
saying?
Yep.
Miss Bev. Oh, come on, man, Miss
Miss
Bev.
Bev. Yep.
Yeah.
Miss
So
Bev. Yep.
and
We went to
Brooke.
the Congressional Black Caucus weekend. I remember, was that 2015,
Yeah,
2016?
yeah,
We
yeah.
went there.
We did.
We
We've been a
stayed
lot
at
of places, man. We
we,
did a lot of things.
yeah,
I
yeah.
wish
We
we
stayed in
could
the
do those things now. Now things are a little bit different. I can handle things differently. We could
right,
do. We got sprinters and Range Rovers now
right.
moving around like a
Because that
motorcade.
CBC weekend was an experience, man. That was my first time being at CBC weekend.
Oh wow.
That was an experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Because that's where it's like everybody's there. That's like where you get to meet everybody, man.
yeah,
Even Dr.
CBC is
Leonard Jeffries was there.
yeah.
Dr. Leonard Jeffries was there.
CBC is this year on the 28th
Hmm.
of September. So it's the end of the
You
month.
gonna be there?
Of course. Yeah, you
Are
should
you
come
there?
through. You should broadcast
Okay.
your show. We can get a media pass and go up there, man.
Okay, well, if people can support us and they can support us through Cash App and PayPal, I'll be there and I'll broadcast from there
Yeah,
and
you
do
should, as you
interviews. Now
should.
you're gonna have a booth there, Dave? You
My somebody from the Black Speakers Bureau is connecting us with press passes. I think it's
okay?
Brian Morris. He's one of the partners at the Black Speakers Bureau with Sandra Temper. They working that out. So
Okay,
we can get a press pass. We can
okay,
roll up there. We can stay at the hotel.
okay. I need
And
to get a press pass through there.
yeah,
I need
yeah,
to
yeah.
get
You
a
need to get a
press
press
pass through the
pass.
Black because I'm part of the Black Speakers Bureau.
You
I need
are.
to call
So
Sandra tomorrow.
Sandra
Also,
Temper,
I'm part of the
she's the
Black Speakers
plug,
Bureau.
man. Come on, she's the plug. You know that.
Yeah, I gotta call Sandra. Okay, so September 28th. Let me put this on the calendar.
Yeah, we gonna go
I gotta
earlier.
try to.
27th, 28th, 29th, 30th. That's that weekend.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I got to try to make this happen. Okay, so people, you can support us because when we were there, we had a booth and we did some interviews with
Yeah, yeah.
people. We were
Broadcasting
broadcasting
live. Had codecs.
from the Parliament Radio
Yeah,
Network. We were
yeah,
broadcasting
yeah,
from there. So we'll do that again, and I'll do interviews. Bernadette Stannis was there.
yeah,
Thelma from Good Times. Because I
yeah.
know Bernadette Stannis. I've interviewed her 2 times previously. You got to meet a lot of the
Stacey
members of the
Abrams. You
Congressional
remember that?
Caucus. Stacey
We
Abrams.
was coming down the
Oh, I don't remember
escalator.
Stacey Abrams being there.
She
I
was
don't remember
there. I
Stacey
got a
Abrams
photo with
being
her.
there. Yep. But I met Roland in person there. Roland
Yes,
Martin, I met
that's
him
when
in
we did the
person.
deal with
Guest
Roland.
hosted
Was
his show.
actually at the
Yep,
CBC. We was like, yo,
exactly.
Roland, blah blah blah, and Miss what you call it from Radio One, Kathy Hughes made that
Kathy
deal
Hughes.
happen between Roland Martin and the Empowerment Radio Network. That happened at CBC. Wow, that's crazy. Nuts.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah,
Exactly,
because she walked
exactly.
by and she was
All right,
like,
Dave.
David, how things going?
Mm-hmm,
And I was like, man, I need to
mm-hmm.
get some advertisement dollars, Miss Hughes. I need some help. She said, keep
Yeah,
plugging.
because we needed advertising dollars, man.
We would get them.
People
We
just
had them.
see.
We had them, but then like Professor Griff would be talking about Home Depot and F the white man and all this stuff. And then it was like, yo, Home Depot was like, sorry, man, that $1 million that we committed, we're taking it away. I'm like, yo, Griff, come on, man. Like, seriously, dude. It was the funniest thing ever, man. Like
Right.
Warren
But we got
Ballantyne would be drunk. Well, let me not say all the intricate things that would be happening. It was just a lot of stuff that happened. We need a reality TV show of what really happened behind the scenes. It was just crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Fly Girl said that I need to say how much funds I need for the event.
$1,000. Wire Michael, Cash Out Michael $1,000.
Well, we got expenses
expenses
we're trying to get through this week. I got stuff I'm trying to cover this week.
Wire it to Michael. You don't need it to send it to me. Send it to the $, the AHN show.
AHN show.
So just Fly Girl.
And when you go to it, it'll say Michael and show my
so
picture
much.
there.
Yeah.
Because I know this week, I know that between the CBC, that's this month, and some other stuff I gotta cover.
Just send $1,000.
We're trying to do.
Fly Girl is probably.
I know we're trying to get 3,000.
She said she got a Roth at Vanguard. She got some paper, man. She's like these girls that take the picture with Chris Brown. She could pay $1,000 to take the picture. Pay $1,000 to Michael Imhotep. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
So,
I know. This week we're trying to raise 3,000. I know that this
yeah,
week,
send the
and
money.
that'll cover CBC because that's all this month. But I know there's some commitment, there's some things I gotta cover like this week. I gotta cover this week. So okay, y'all can help us out. Okay, look, Dave, I know you gotta run. People stand by. We're gonna give a brief overview of my online classes starting up September 8th. That's another way you can support us. Hey, Dave Anderson, appreciate you coming on.
All right, man.
We'll talk
Appreciate
soon.
you, man.
And I want to get on the Wealth Wednesdays also.
You're there.
With David,
You're there. You're there.
Yeah.
As soon as we get
the
the studio, okay, we'll work it out, man. We'll make it work.
Yeah,
we'll make it work.
Well,
you got your
Kodak.
You got your Kodak set up.
I still have a Kodak, but I call in through Skype.
Nah, we ain't using no Skype. We doing this business professional, man. We gonna do this.
I still have my Kodak.
Yeah,
that thing costs $1,500.
Man. Mine's cost $5,000, and it's one that's inside of the Sprinter. It doesn't come out. So no matter where I am on the planet,
I still have that Kodak unit.
It's
on the other side of the room. I haven't used it in years.
It's time to dust it off, man, and get the STID numbers, man. It's time to connect. You ain't calling Roland Show with no Kodak. You doing Roland Show on Skype?
Yeah, they do it through Skype.
Oh,
they do it, but they do it through the video. They do it through Skype video. It looks professional.
Now the audio, man, the audio needs to be. Well, we'll talk about that.
No, they run through mixers and they have sound engineers, all that on his end. They have that all on his end. Yeah, in his studio. He has a studio.
Well, tell Roland to well, I don't want to start no stuff, but they need to allow for you to promote the African History Network show, a little bit more. Period. I mean, because the Roland Martin platform is huge. Yeah. You need to be on there, and he needs to push that. You need to have a conversation with him, let him know where things are. And, it needs to be a more intimate relationship as it relates to monetizing. It can't just be, you're a great content provider. It can't just be that. Yeah. And he relies on you now. It ain't like before. It was like you had to be like calling him, pressing him to get on. Now it's like he got to go out of town and you're hosting the show. Yeah, it's the Roland Martin show.
I hosted once,
but still, you hosted it. Friday. Come on, man. This is Roland Martin.
I guess
you hosted this dude's show. He called you
for Roland Martin and Filthy. Yeah, I guess.
Come on, once, yeah. This is a big. That's like he's relying on you. You have been consistent that he relies on you. So it's only right, man. They gotta respect the gangster, and they gotta do something. You know what I'm saying? If they can't cut a check on a regular basis, then they gotta give it to you in an in-kind. And an in-kind sometimes. Right. When we do deals, the in-kind makes more money than the check.
Right.
They call them NTRs, non-traditional streams of revenue. That's what they call them at the radio station when we be selling that stuff. I used to be in sales a long time ago. I had to sell my radio show to be on the air. I had to sell my own
20
show.
years ago.
So you know the deal.
Like 22 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do NTRs, but yeah.
XM radio
here in Detroit.
For 10 years, I sold my show. I made more money selling Blackanomics on XM, Sirius XM, than I did getting a check. I actually forego the check and was like, we good. Because, spots were being sold for $250,000, $300,000, $500,000 annually. So what I'm going to take a check for $5,000 a month, 60 G's a year, or am I going to sell my ad revenue, my space? So
ad revenue,
yeah, but there's people who are listening to like this girl here, Tony S says great information. All right, Tony, great information. Thank you.
Hey, Tony.
Hashtag $sign the AHN show. The way you show me your love is by the way you pay me. Tony S. You know what I'm saying?
We've got it up here. That and PayPal. I got my links up here for
Cash App. So people got to support this thing. They say they we're in this society now where everything is information. We give a thumbs up and an emoji, but we ain't sending no cash. So, there's people that are listening. If they can't give money, then they can give time. That's what I tell people all the time. If you can't send no money, give your time. Donate your time. Maybe you organize, a team of 5, to 12 core volunteers, and you meet with them at Mr. Roberts' hotel on Sunday afternoon and get this thing going, Fly Girl's engaged, man. She talking about you need to promote your show, Roland Martin. Yes, we know that, Fly Girl. But Roland is he's very temperamental, so we don't want to make him feel like things are being taken away from his show. So it's all about Roland. We respect you, Roland. I know you probably watch it.
No, we ain't trying to take anything away from that.
But Mike needs your help, Roland. I said it. I said it on the African History Network. See, I can say that shit because I just
All
I
right,
can't.
all right. All right.
You know.
All right, Dave. Look, I
But
know you
anyway,
got to run. I'm gonna give people a brief overview of my online classes. All right. Okay, Dave. Look,
handle your
thanks for
business,
coming
man.
on.
Yo,
All right.
thanks, Mike. We love you, man.
All right. Thanks.
All right,
Peace.
man.
Thanks for
Peace.
coming on.
All right.
All right. Okay, everybody. Look, I'm gonna do a brief, very brief overview. So we have 2 online classes starting up. Class number 1 starts up on Thursday, September 8th, 2022. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. I'm restructuring the class. It's gonna be 8 weeks. We're gonna have a ton of information. We have the information right on the homepage of our website, a new website, TheAHNHistoryNetwork.com, TheAHNHistoryNetwork.com. And you can click right here, register here. Classes on sale $80, regularly $130. We have a bundle pack where you can register for both classes for $130. That's over it's close to a $360 value, because it's going to be bonus lectures that you get that you can watch in the portal also. Okay. And let's see here. We've got Tuesday, September 13th, we have the second class, another 8-week class, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement of Black Power, 1865 to 1968. So we teach that class. It's the same structure and same cost. Okay. So when you register for the online classes, that helps support the African History Network as well. Plus, I have to pick there are 2 digital platforms that I use to teach those classes. One to house the class, the other to actually broadcast the class. I have to pay each month for those. Those classes are not on social media. Okay, that's not on YouTube. Okay, so those platforms, when you log into your Learn World account and you log in the Crowdcast where we broadcast, I got to pay for that each month. Both platforms I have to pay for each month. Okay, so we do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles, video clips. Each class is over like 50 articles that we reference in the class. Now, you don't, and the books that we reference also, you don't have to buy any of these books to follow along in the class. Usually I'll scan the pages, so we have slides for them also. But I'm just going to do a quick overview of this class, and I'm going to do a separate broadcast also, so we can look at some of the content in this class. So we deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We deal with the ancient African presence in the Americas going back at least 51,700 years. And one of the books that we reference is from one of my friends, Dr. David Imhotep, who wrote the book, The First Americans Where Africans Documented Evidence. And we look at different archaeological discoveries also that cause us to totally rethink a lot of this history. And when these discoveries come out, the archaeologists and anthropologists and paleontologists have to push the timelines back. This discovery here in 2004 in Allendale County, South Carolina, by Dr. Albert Goodyear, a lot of the scholars are still debating over this. Now, people like Runoko Rashidi and Dr. Charles Finch have talked about how Homo sapiens sapiens are at least 300,000 years old, as opposed to 75,000 to 100,000 years old. This discovery here dealt with the African presence in the South Carolina area that dates back at least 51,700 years. They found 13 different types of evidence documenting this African presence. They found artifacts, architecture, campsites, carvings, Egyptian writings, footprints in lava, genetic M174D haploid groups dealing with DNA and genetics. They found linguistics, skull, skeleton structures, and tools. 13 different types of evidence documenting an African presence in this country going back at least 51,700 years. This is before Native Americans came into existence. Okay, so when we deal with this history in this class, will totally change the way that you look at history. And we know that the foundation is African history and culture. This gives us our values, our interests, and our principles. This influences our economic and political empowerment. So this totally changes our cultural paradigm, changes the way that we look at this and look at history. And this is tied to our self-esteem, our self-development, and self-worth. This article from this is from ScienceDaily.com. ScienceDaily.com. This article is from 2004. This is a picture of Dr. Albert Goodyear, who was the lead archaeologist on this expedition, on this excavation. It says radio tests of carbonized plant remains where artifacts were unearthed last May along the Savannah River in Allendale County by University of South Carolina archaeologist Dr. Albert Goodyear indicate that the sediments containing these artifacts are at least 50,000 years old, meaning that humans inhabited North America long before the last ice age. The name of this article, New Evidence Puts Man in North America 50,000 years ago. So you can read this at sciencedaily.com. It's still there. And it deals with the Khoisan. So these people that they're talking about, these were the Khoisan who have the oldest DNA on the planet. They're the ancestors to the Ainu and the Twa. They go all around the world. And they were here in the land we call the United States of America as well. So yes, the transatlantic slave trade did happen, but we have to understand that African people have been in this land called the United States of America going back at least 51,700 years. And we were here in this land long before the transatlantic slave trade started. So one of the things that we will see in the class is that, can you all hear me okay? Somebody said the audio is breaking up. Can you hear me okay? Let me refresh the screen just a second. Okay, you should be able to hear me all right. Okay, you should be able to hear me okay. All right, so here is a picture of two Khoisan women here. So the Khoisan go all around the world. They're the ancestors that I knew in the Twa. These are the short-statured Africans, and they were here in this land as well. So even though the transatlantic slave trade did happen, and we see it beginning in 1441 when Anton Gonzalez going into modern-day Mauritania and capturing 12 African people, taking them back to Portugal, because the Portuguese were the first ones involved in the transatlantic slave trade. Even though the transatlantic slave trade did happen, we have to understand thousands of years of history that leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place, okay? And we're going to see multiple things taking place at different times. We're going to see multiple things taking place at different times. You're going to have the English taking Native Americans from this land into England also. We're going to see the Spanish kicking some of the African Moors out of Spain and enslaving them and taking them into Spanish colonies. We're going to see different things happening around the same time. Now, in October 2012, genetic study published in Science magazine found that the Khoisan in Southern Africa are the oldest ethnic group of modern humans, with their ancestral line originating about 100,000 years ago. The Khoisan, formerly called by the derogatory term Bushmen, are genetically unique, and no other currently known population had separated so early from our common human ancestor, according to the report. Okay, now this was in Science magazine. So you have a lot of European anthropologists, archaeologists, things like this, who know this information. They know this information, but a lot of it is not pushed to the forefront. Okay, it's not pushed to the forefront. We're distracted by things like WAP, and we're distracted by, Megan Thee Stallion, and we're distracted by a lot of superfluous, just nonsense, a lot of pop culture, things like this, right? The Khoisan live mainly in Southern Africa, in territory spanning Botswana, Namibia, Angola, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and South Africa. They are largely divided into two groups: hunters and gatherers. The Sans people, the hunters, the Sans people and keepers of the livestock are the Khoi Khoi. Okay, hunters and gatherers, the Sans people, keeper of the livestock, the Khoi Khoi. The Khoisan languages include the distinctive click sounds that are not found in the languages of their neighbors. Okay, so you can read this article here from AtlantaBlackStar.com, 5 ethnic groups that prove the first humans were Black. So we take you throughout history. We look at a lot of this history chronologically. We look at different periods of time. We look at the influence in this country from Africa, especially ancient Kemet. This land was called Egypt of the West by the founding fathers. We know that the foundation of Freemasonry are the teachings coming out of ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, and the lodges, the ancient Egyptian mystery system, the Washington Monument, and George Washington was a Freemason. The Washington Monument is an ancient African symbol called a tekken. The Greeks call it an obelisk. It's a symbol of resurrection that comes from the mythology of Asar, Set, and Heru, who the Greeks called Osiris, Isis, and Horus. And we see that in London, England, New York City, and Paris, we see these tekkens, or these tekkenu for plural, we see them there. So we'll see these structures and not know that they relate to ancient Africa. Okay. Ancient Egyptians called obelisk tekkenu, and they were also used to tell the time in the past. Their pinnacles were basically covered in gold to reflect the sunlight. Historians say that obelisk represented immortality and eternity, and their long structure helped connect the heavens and the earth. Their long structure helped connect the heavens and the earth. So there's a ton of articles that we look at in both classes, and we have book references, things like this. And I have thousands of articles in my archives, and there's more information I'm still adding to these classes. And you know, as new information comes out, new archaeological discoveries, I'm incorporating this into the courses also. Now, currently, Cleopatra is the name. And let me see, why is this showing this? Hold on, let's see something. Let's bring this back up again. It was showing something on the side. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. Currently, Cleopatra's Needle is the name given to 3 ancient Egyptian obelisks in New York City, one in London, England, and one in Paris, France. However, they do not all come from one European site. The obelisks in New York and London are carved out of red granite from the quarries of Aswan, okay, a major source of stone for Egyptian antiquities. The 2 obelisks were commissioned by Nasubiti, or Pharaoh Thutmose III, for the temple of the sun of Heliopolis, of the sun in Heliopolis, near modern-day Cairo, with each weighing about 224 tons and 68 feet tall. Now, this comes from an article from face-to-faceafrica.com. You see me post articles from face-to-faceafrica.com pretty much every day on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. The name of this article is Cleopatra's Needle, how 3 ancient Egyptian obelisks ended up in New York City, London, and Paris, France. Okay, so we'll see these structures in these areas: London, England, Paris, France, and New York City. And we think these came from Europeans. No, they came from Africa. We think they came from Europeans. No, they came from our ancestors. And we will inappropriately and mistakenly attribute genius to people who are the thieves of our history and of our culture and of archaeological artifacts that our ancestors built. Okay, so this is why we have to take this history back. This is why we really have to understand this. And what you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's actions, you control. When you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, here's a famous statue of Asar, Set, and Heru, who the Greeks called Osiris and Horus. And the tekken comes from the mythology with them, and they're known as the first Holy Trinity. And we deal with the story of Heru being born of virgin birth on December 25th to the Virgin Set. Tony Browder, in his book Egypt on the Potomac, and this is one of the books we use in the class also, he said there were approximately 1,200 tekkenu built in Kemet in ancient times, but only uh, only about a dozen are found in Egypt today. Many of the Tekhenu removed from Egypt are now in Istanbul, Turkey, London, England, Paris, France, Berlin, Germany, New York, New York, Rome, Italy, Vatican City, and elsewhere throughout the world. So this is a robbing of African artifacts, of African history and culture. Tekhenu are now called obelisks by their new owners, and few know their origin or that they symbolize the resurrection of the African king Asar. This is from page 17 of Egypt on the Potomac by Tony Browder. Then when we look at Freemasonry, okay, the word Mason is derived from the Latin words mass and sun. Mason means child of light and expresses the desire to pursue light. Is a metaphor for the sun, which symbolizes knowledge. The term, and I'm going to post the link here to also so you can register for this online class as well. We also have it right on the homepage of our website, TheAFricanHistoryNetwork.com, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. As soon as you register, there's bonus content that you can start watching now. And I'll be posting more bonus content over the next few days leading up to the class also, okay? Leading up to the start of the class, Thursday, September 8th. Now, the word Mason is derived from the Latin words mass and sun. Mason means child of light and expresses the desire to pursue light, which is a metaphor for the sun, which symbolizes knowledge. The term child of light or sons and daughters of light, because women were not discriminated against. Women could study in these temples also. Women could gain this knowledge as well. Was first used to the term child of light or sons, S-U-N-S, sons and daughters of light, was first used to identify students who had completed 42 years of study in the temples of ancient Kemet. Many Masonic temples were modeled after the temples of Kemet, places where light and knowledge was imparted in a series of steps or degrees, where light and knowledge was imparted in a series of steps or degrees. So the concept of going to a liberal arts college, ancient Kemet, from the mystery systems, from the temples, and getting your credentials in a series of degrees, bachelor's degree, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhD, okay, philosophy degree. That comes from ancient Kemet. The 7 liberal arts that were taught, the logic and the rhetoric and arithmetic, things like this. George G. James deals with this in the book Stolen Legacy. All that comes from our ancestors. That comes from ancient Africa. All right, so look at pages 18 and 32 of Egypt on the Potomac by Tony Browder. Now, Masonic temples are considered houses of light or temples of learning. The term Mason or child of light is a direct reference to the highest degree of the Kemetic education system, the ancient Egyptian education system. The 33 degrees of instruction within Freemasonry represent a fraction of the 360 degrees of instruction that comprise the Kemetic system of education. Yet with less than 10% of the wisdom of ancient Kemet, Freemasons have held positions of influence and power throughout the world for over 200 years. Okay, that comes from page 33 of Egypt on the Potomac. Also, I should tell you, also, if you want to register for the classes through Cash App, you can do that as well. You can send the funds through our Cash App also. All right. And you can email us through the website as well, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And you can email us at TheAHNShow at TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AHNShow at TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, or email us through Gmail, TheAHNShow at gmail.com. All right, now let's continue. We'll continue for a few more minutes here. Okay, let me go back to this here. All right, how do you all like this type of information? All right, let's continue. So we deal with Arsar, Aset, and Heru. We deal with some of the Neteru, some of the deities coming out of ancient Kemet. And from Asar, Aset, and Heru, you get the worship of the Black Madonna and Child, which is crucial in European history. And from the Black Madonna and Child, you get the decolorized version, which is the White Mary and Jesus. Okay, the White Mary and Jesus. And we're going to see that the Saturday morning cartoon and the superhero from DC Comics, Isis, is a co-opting of this history in this mythology coming from Africa and being Europeanized and represented to the world like they created it themselves. So in the 1980s, early 1980s, I think it was early 1980s, 1970s, 1980s, because it was on for 5 years, late 70s, early 80s. I used to get up Saturday mornings and I used to watch the Shazam and Isis Hour on CBS. Came on 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Shazam and Isis Hour. It was a half-hour live-action show. They had one show, Shazam, the other show, Isis. It was, and the name of the show was The Secrets of Isis. So they had this white woman, and they said her name was Isis, and they said she got her powers from ancient Egypt. Okay. And at the beginning, when on Hulu, on the streaming service Hulu, a few years ago, they had some of the episodes. I don't know if they're still there. I have to look again because I have Hulu, so I need to look again. When you watch the beginning of the show, they talk about Hathor. They name some of the deities from ancient Kemet. Okay, this is in the show, but they don't tell you that these were African people, these were Black African people, things like this. All right, this is why I said, will the real Isis please stand up? Because they don't tell you where this comes from. Okay, and she has the horns and the sun disk, the horns of like Hathor, Het Heru, and the sun disk and all this, and they have symbolism from ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, but they don't tell you that this is coming from African people, Black African people, and it just gets represented like they created it themselves. All right. Just like where the eagle, the bald eagle on the dollar bill comes from, which comes from Heru in the sun disk, and we see the number 13 appears 13 times on the dollar bill. Okay, because the number 13 is a symbol of resurrection, transformation, and resurrection, and we see the symbolism incorporated into the dollar bill as well. We'll look at things like patron saints, because to understand a lot, because we'll look at the origins of like why Christmas is celebrated on December 25th, and we have to look at some of this religious history because it plays a part in the history of the transatlantic slave trade, like with the Catholic Church, and even going back to looking at things like Bishop Nicholas and the Druids, okay, and the British slave named Nicholas, who sent into Ireland in 432 A.D. by Pope Celestine I to convert the Irish to Christianity. And you have the Druids there, and the Druids are practicing a watered down version of the teachings coming from ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt. Okay, and Druids are what the Druids are teaching conflicts with the Christian church, and the Druids are in the word Druid in Old Irish means he who knows. The Druids are teaching something called the gnosis, which means the true knowledge. It's in conflict. Now, what I say may go outside the circumference of some people's awareness. Just because you never heard it before, disagree with it, or don't like it, does not mean it's not true. It just means you have to do some research to understand what I'm talking about. The Druids are dealing with awakening the power of God that exists within inside of man. And you awaken that power and achieve that power to its fullest potential through the acquisition of knowledge and spiritual awareness. and it's dealing with the knowledge, it's dealing with the power of God that exists inside of you, and it relates to the mythology of Asar, Aset, and Heru. What the Druids were teaching was in conflict with what the Christian church was teaching. So to impose Christianity on the Irish, the Druids had to be killed, and that knowledge had to be suppressed. And this is what a British slave named Patrick did. And when they talk about Patrick driving the snakes out of Ireland, the snakes they were talking about were the snake people called the Druids, because the Druids wore a helmet that had a cobra on it, which was coming from ancient Kemet. The cobra is a symbol coming from ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt. When you study the history of Ireland, and I had to study, I've done lectures dealing with like the origins of St. Patrick's Day, things like this. So I had to study like Irish history to better understand it. When you study the history of Ireland, there's no evidence of snakes ever being in Ireland, because Ireland is a very cold climate. So it's not a climate conducive to snakes living. Okay. This is an article here from history.com. Who was St. Patrick? And I think in this article here, they talk about the Druids in this one. Many of the stories traditionally associated with St. Patrick, including the famous account of banishing all snakes from Ireland, are false. The products of hundreds of years of exaggerated storytelling. And you know, and also Patrick was not Irish; he was actually British. Okay, Britain at that time was under the control of the Roman Empire, so the English language didn't exist. You're talking about 5th century AD. Okay, he died around 460 AD. So you know, you're talking about 5th century. Okay, and he was born. Okay, he goes into 432 AD. So yeah, you're talking about 5th century AD. The English language doesn't exist at this time. England is not a dominant power at this point. The dominant power is the Roman Empire, and what we call Britain, that area, what we call Britain, is a territory of the Roman Empire at this time. Okay, this is before the Vandals and the Visigoths crushed the western portion of the Roman Empire in 476 AD, which ends Europe into the Dark Ages. And it's going to be the Vandals and the Visigoths that the Moors fight when they go in 711 AD. And it's going to be Jewish emissaries that ask for help from the Moors to come into the Iberian Peninsula, Spain and Portugal, because they're being persecuted in the Iberian Peninsula by the Vandals and the Visigoths. Okay, so when Tariq ibn Ziyad goes in 7 AD, it's because they're asked to come in to fight against the Vandals and the Visigoths and liberate these people from the oppression of these barbarians. Okay, these barbarians. All right, so you can read this article from history.com, the official website of the History Channel. Who was St. Patrick? Who was St. Patrick? Okay, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a heart on this broadcast if you like this type of information. Who still needs to register for this online history class we have starting up Thursday, September 8th, 2022, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, we do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded, so you don't have to be in class live. Okay, as soon as we finish the class is available to watch on demand, and you can go back and watch as many times as you want to. And even after the 8-week online class is over with, the course is over with, you still have full access to the class. So you can go back and watch it anytime. A year from now, 2 years from now, you go back and watch the entire course. Okay. And when you register, also you can use debit card, credit card. So if you don't have a PayPal account, that's fine. You don't have to have a PayPal account. Just follow the prompts. And there's an option to pay if you don't have PayPal. Okay. All right. So we go throughout history and we look at this history chronologically. We look at the ancient African civilizations. We look at Carthage and Axum, and we'll talk some about Nubia as well. We'll look at why Christmas is celebrated on December 25th. Nowhere in the biblical text does it state Yeshua or Jesus the Christ was born on December 25th. We know the letter J is derived from the letter I. The letter J did not exist until 1630 AD. So when you look up in the dictionary, you look up the word J in the dictionary, it takes you back to the Hebrew Yeshua. Okay, Yeshua, which means Jah is salvation, Jah, or Jah is salvation. So we go through and look at history. One of the other things that we look at in the class, we deal with the film Black Panther and how the film Black Panther relates to African history, African culture, African language, spiritual systems, things like this. The Panther deity of Bast that we see in Black Panther that watches over the people of Wakanda comes from Bastet, which is a neter, a deity who is a goddess of warfare, is a female deity, a goddess of warfare and lower Kemet, worshipped as early as 2890 BCE, before the Common Era. And it was worshipped in the form of a lioness originally, and later a cat. So it's a deity with a cat's head. And when we look at Wakanda, Wakanda is made up of 18 different tribes, 18 different clans. You have the Panther clan, you have the Jabari tribe, different things like this. The religion of the Wakandan people first developed during the pilgrimage to the land. In their conflict, the originators, the gods of Wakanda, formed from the heroes of humans with the ascending within the tribe, ascending to the status of God or deity. These heroes became the Orisha. The Orisha. Now, the Orisha are the names of the deities in the spiritual system of Ifa that's practiced amongst the Yoruba in Nigeria. Okay, the Orisha. Now, this is coming from the Black Panther comic book. Taking the names Koku, Thoth, who comes from Kemet, Thoth, who was Dahuti, Bast, who comes from Bastet, Mujaji, Ptah. I have a picture of Ptah right behind me, and Niami. The Orisha, the Orishas or Orishas or origins date back to the ancient Egyptian beings known as the Inuit. Now, the Inuit also comes straight out of ancient Kemet as well. Now, in addition to the development of these gods, these deities, the people of Wakanda became segmented into various cults that worship various animal deities of the area. The most famous cults included the Black Panther cult and the White Gorilla cult. 18 tribes in total developed in the country of Wakanda, and included the lion cult, crocodile cult, and hyena cult. So it wasn't that they thought that a gorilla was God, or they thought that a panther was God, but in African spiritual systems, we understood that we're part of nature. Nature comes from the creator, and that the creator gives special, unique gifts to each animal, whether it's the falcon, whether it's the keen sight that the falcon has with the vision of the falcon, whether it's the canine, the jackal, and so we see this in the judgment scene, okay, with Anpu or Anubis, who balances the scales. And when you die, coming from ancient Kemetic spiritual systems, when you die, your heart is weighed against the feather of Ma'at, okay, which was a woman. Ma'at was a winged deity that was the personification of truth, justice, righteousness, balance, harmony, order, and reciprocity. Okay, and Ma'at had an ostrich feather in her headband. The 42 laws of Ma'at, which was a precursor to the 10 commandments, the 42 admonitions of 42 laws of Ma'at. This was a precursor to the 10 commandments. So when you die, it said that your heart was weighed against the feather of Ma'at. So if you lived your life correctly, based upon the 42 negative confessions or admonitions of Ma'at, I have not committed sin. I have not committed robbery with violence. I have not stolen. I have not slain men and women. I have not stolen grain. Then when you die and your heart is weighed on the scale of Ma'at, your heart would be lighter than a feather. Your heart representing the essence of your soul, and it deals with your how you live your life. Your heart would be lighter than the essence of the feather of Ma'at, and you go into the afterlife. If you did not live your life correctly, then your soul will be devoured by this devourer animal here. Okay, here you have Anpu, Anubis, who the Greeks called Anubis, who is the deity with the head of a jackal. Now, the jackal is a canine. The canine has a very keen sense of taste, a very keen sense of discernment, judgment. Its senses are heightened, much greater than that of a human. The sense of not just taste but also smell, okay, is much greater in the canine than it is in the human. So, and Pu or Anubis has the gift from the creator of discernment, of judgment. And it takes precision to be able to balance the scales of Ma'at. So that's why Anpu is the one that does this. And then Dahuti, who represents divine articulation of speech and science and mathematics and writing, things like this. And Pu is the one that records the results of the weighing of the heart on the scale of Ma'at. Okay, so this is a very deep mythology and spiritual system. Okay, that we're dealing with. And we'll see different elements of this incorporated into different cultures, incorporated also into the film Black Panther. We'll see different elements of ancient Kemet, and there are 11 different African cultures that we see represented in the film Black Panther. Okay, so the film Black Panther is a deep movie on multiple levels. The language spoken in the film Black Panther is isiXhosa. Okay, and isiXhosa is a Bantu language. All right, because I did 3 months of research on the film Black Panther and the movie to be able to do my lectures on the film Black Panther. Okay, because I have like extensive lectures on the film, and also relates to the comic book Black Panther as well. Now, what are the Ennead? Ennead means group of 9 in Greek. In ancient Kemet, they were called Pesjet. The 9 Neteru were Atum or Atum, which represented the sun, Shu, which represented air, Tefnut, which represented moisture, Geb, which represented earth, Nut, which represented the sky, Asar, who the Greeks called Osiris, Set, who the Greeks called Isis, Seth, and Nephthys. Okay, if you read Ancient Egypt by Lorna Oakes and Lucia Galen, pages 274 and 277, they have a chart there. This is one of the books we use in the class. Okay, so once again, you don't have to buy any of these books, but this is a huge book. This is one of the sources in the class. Okay, not just this book, but we have this one. We have Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization. We have Black Star, the African Presence in Early Europe, from Runoko Rashidi. And Runoko was a friend of mine. I interviewed him 6 times. He was, he passed away August 2nd, 2021, while doing a tour in Egypt. And this book here deals with the presence of the African Moors in Europe. And when we talk about the Black Madonna and Child, we look at pages, and because Europeans were worshiping African people, right? The Black Madonna and Child, we look at pages 90 and 91. We see images, statues, paintings of the Black Madonna and Child in different European countries. This one right here is in Switzerland. I'm citing Switzerland. The Black Madonna right here in Child. We see this painting here in Saskatchewan, Poland, Our Lady of Jasna Gora. Okay, this one up here. We see the Black Virgin of Madrid, Spain. So even before the Moors go in, they're worshiping the Black Madonna and Child, which comes from Asar, Osset, and Heru, which comes from these African people. When you look at Greek mythology, right, and you read about Zeus, Zeus is the king of the gods. In Greek mythology, they say Zeus comes from Ethiopia, because a lot of the deities in Greek and Roman mythology came from African deities, especially coming out of ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt. Black Virgin and Child statue in St. John's Church, Luxembourg City, Luxembourg, right here. We look at coat of arms of Pope Benedict XVI with the head of a Moorish king, because a lot of these Europeans had Moorish ancestry, because the Moors intermixed into the European population and changed the complexion to various degrees of different Europeans. We look at this here, the flag. We break this down in the class. The flag of Sardinia, Italy, has the 4 Moors heads on it. Why? Actually, the flags of Corsica and Sardinia have Moors heads on them. Why is that? Okay, so we take you through our history chronologically and deal with a lot of this. Okay, how do you all like this type of information? Post here on the thread of the broadcast. Let us know how you like this type of information here. All right, and then we look at, African civilizations as well, like Carthage, and we look at the Punic Wars, the 3 Punic Wars, also in Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus and Hannibal Barca in the Battle of Cannae 216 BC, and the Battle of Zama, where Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus defeats Hannibal Barca at the Battle of Zama in 202 BC. We know Carthage is destroyed 146 BC, but we'll look at civilizations like Great Zimbabwe and Axum as well. Okay, and then we'll look at the origins of the transatlantic slave trade. We look at to understand the transatlantic slave trade, you have to understand the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans, known as the Moors. So who were the Moors? The Moors' ancestors were known as the Garamantes. These were a Black African people living throughout North Africa. Hannibal Barca, who was Carthaginian, and the Carthaginians are descendants of the Phoenicians. Hannibal Barca was Garamanti, as well as St. Augustine. The Moors, according to George G.M. James in the book Stolen Legacy, were the custodians of the ancient Egyptian mystery system. These teachings will bring Europe out of the Dark Ages, okay? And we look at the origins of the word Moor. Now, the word Moor is derived from the Greek word moros, which literally means black or very dark. Or the Romans adopt this word and called them Mari, M-A-U-R-I. The Mari were a Northwest African people who were very dark-skinned. The Romans will refer to the region of Northwest Africa as Mauritania, M-A-U-R-I, Mauritania. Now, Mauritania is Latin and means the land of the black-skinned people, You also hear the word Marish, okay? Now, Romans later adopt the word as a reference for the black-skinned inhabitants they encountered in Africa. If you look at pages 527 and 187, the Golden Age of the Moor, they break down this information. That was the source. That was the source of this information that you see in these slides. All these slides I put together. I created the curriculum of both of these classes. I've been studying history 30 years. This is a lot of work. Maybe I make it look easy. This is not easy. Okay, because this is okay. So for the first class, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, this is the binder, and this is just some of the information that I use in the class, the articles and different things like this. This is just some of the information here, and I have it broken into um, uh, classes. The course is broken into 8 classes. So this is just some of the information here. It's a ton of articles that we reference. We have video clips, all of that, okay, in this class. Now, you can also use this information and you can use this class with your children. I would say the content is PG-13, okay? I would say the content is PG-13. It's not overly graphic. I don't do a lot of cursing, things like that in the class. But you'll never look at history the same way, okay? We're going to post a link here on the thread of the broadcast so you can register for the course now. There's bonus content you can start watching right now as soon as you register, okay? And also class number 1 is there that I taught back in February. You can watch class number 1. We're going to have some new information for you in this class. If you're taking this online, if you've taken any of my online classes in the past, so this one here, I started teaching back in 2017. I've taught it on and off from 2017. It's totally evolved exponentially from when I first taught it in 2017. Okay. If you've taken any of my online classes in the past, email me at AHNShow at TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AHNShow at TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, because returning students, you'll get a 50% discount on the bundle pack. Okay, returning students, you get a 50% discount on the bundle pack and these classes, but the bundle pack is the best value. All right, so email us now. We'll get you registered. You can do Cash App, PayPal, credit card, debit card. As soon as you register, there's bonus content that you can start watching right now. Okay, and if you haven't taken these classes, that's not a problem. You can register for them also. There's bonus content, and there's some of my lectures I am uploading, so you're able to watch on demand. Also, you're going to get a bonus of 15 of my lectures also with this class, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they teach you in school. This class, class number 1, starts up Thursday, September 8th, 2022, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, now, so we deal with some of the history of the Moors as well, and we deal with Tariq ibn Ziyad and the Moors conquering the Iberian Peninsula, parts of the Iberian Peninsula, and then going into other European countries, and they go into they're going to England, they're going to Austria, they're going to Germany, they're going to go into France also. And we deal with why the Moors lose control also as well. And when we look at General Tariq ibn Ziyad, now before Tariq goes in 711, we have Tarif, who goes in 710 AD, okay, who goes in 710 AD for the reconnaissance mission. 710 AD, Tarif with 400 foot and 100 horses, all Berbers, successfully carried out a mission in southern Iberia. Tarif, an important port city in southern Spain, is named after him. It is clear, however, that the conquest of Spain was undertaken upon the initiative of Tariq ibn Ziyad. Tariq was in command of an army of at least 10,000 men, Now, in 711 AD, Tariq ibn Ziyad crossed the straits and disembarked near a rock promontory, which from that day since has borne his name, Jebel Tariq or Tariq's mountain. We call it Gibraltar, or the Rock of Gibraltar. In August 711, Tariq won paramount victory over the opposing European army. Okay, over the opposing European army. And In the aftermath of these brilliant struggles, thousands of Moors flooded into the Iberian Peninsula. So eager were they to come that some are said to have floated over on tree trunks. Tariq himself, at the conclusion of his illustrious military career, retired to the distant east, we are informed, to spread the teachings of Islam. And we're going to see them, we're going to see Tariq go into and conquer the Spanish city of Toledo. And within a month's time, General Tariq ibn Ziyad had effectively terminated European dominance of the Iberian Peninsula. Okay. This comes from an article that Runoko Rashidi wrote for AtlantaBlackStar.com in June of 2014. Moors, Saints, Knights, and Kings, the African Presence in Medieval and Renaissance Europe. Moors, Saints, Knights, and Kings, the African Presence in Medieval and Renaissance Europe. All right, so this is some of the history that we deal with, and the African Moors heads on the national flags of Corsica and Sardinia, the French island of Corsica, and the Italian island of Sardinia. And we deal with the three great West African kingdoms, also like Ghana, Songhai, and Mali. We deal with Christopher Columbus as well. So we go through and look at history chronologically. We have to deal with European history, African history, and the intersections of these different groups of people also. Okay. And Columbus helps to lay the foundation of the transatlantic slave trade. It helps lay the foundation for slavery, racism, capitalism, the exploitation of indigenous people, and Columbus and where he goes on his 4 voyages. And he never comes to the land we call the United States of America. The closest he comes here is Cuba, which is 90 miles away. And we see him going to Hispaniola, and the western third of the portion of Hispaniola is where Haiti is, the island Haiti. And it's going to be the British, it was going to be the French to take control of Haiti, the western third of the portion of Hispaniola. They take control of that in 1697 from the Spanish. But we're going to see him conquer Cuba and the Bahamas, the West Indies, Puerto Rico, Boricuan, Jamaica, 1494, Jamaica, Trinidad, Venezuelan mainland, Panama, and Honduras. Okay. When you look at where he goes, he never comes to the land that we call the United States of America. And these island nations that he conquered have never recovered from what happened to them over 500 years ago. Okay. In the past few months, we've heard Haiti in the news, and Cuba and Jamaica, Puerto Rico, things like this. They've never recovered from what the Spanish did to them, and then the British in some cases, or the French, etc. Because you're going to have the British and French that take control of some of these nations. You know, the British take control of Jamaica. Jamaica is still trying to get reparations from the Great Britain and Queen Elizabeth II, and they cannot even get an apology from the British. They can't even get an apology from the British. The most they will get is the British say, "Oh, it was a tragedy, or it was an atrocity that should not have happened." They can't get an apology. If you can't get an apology, you definitely can't get reparations. Okay, so this is some of the type of history that we look at. Then we go through and we look at the actual, we look at a timeline of history, and we look at the actual transatlantic slave trade. Okay, and go through and analyze that some as well. Okay, so this course here is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. You can register for it right now. As soon as you register, there's bonus content you can start watching. Class number 1 starts up Thursday, September 8th, 2022, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, basically, is when the class will run. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. And then September 13th, class number 1 of from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968 starts up. That class we start in 1803 with the Louisiana Purchase and the Haitian Revolution, because those two events are related. And we go through and look at history chronologically. We look at what leads to the Civil War taking place. And then we look at the Civil War, 1861, 1865, Reconstruction era, 1865, 1877. And the Civil War and Reconstruction era are directly related to what's going on today with the voter suppression and political violence, things like this, and the racism we see today. We look at the Jim Crow era, and the voter suppression that took place in the Jim Crow era, and reversing the rights of African Americans and segregation laws that are being written, and the poll taxes and literacy tests that are being written into state constitutions. So we'll look at Jim Crow era, World War I, World War II, Civil Rights Movement, the Black Power movement, and what happens to us after slavery ends. What are the laws and policies put in place to put us in the predicament that we're in today? So we understand how we got to where we are today, to understand where we need to go from here. Okay. So that's the second class. So you can register for those classes now. We have the bundle pack where you get both classes for $130. All right, look, so we have to get out of here. Go ahead and register for the classes. We'll see you in class. You can watch the bonus content as soon as you register. You can start watching that, and you can watch from around the world as well. Share this information with your children also. Remember, right now it's corrects wrong behaviors, not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And you can also, my DVD lectures are available at our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, right on the homepage also. And some of them we have in digital download format. And you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. The information is right on the homepage of our website. Remember, right now it's correct wrong behaviors, not over till we win. Wakanda forever.